All right, continuing chapter two. We're going to be talking about the MLSs in New Jersey. We've been speaking about that when you get a listing, you got to put a listing in the MLS within 48 hours. But um, which one? There's more than one MLS. We have seven MLSs here in New Jersey. Several of them have actually merged in recent years. They still exist on their own, but they've also merged and had partnerships. Um, we have Garden State MLS, Garden State MLS or GSMLS. They cover as their primary area. Now, keep in mind, all of these MLSs have a listing of all 21 counties and all 565 municipalities that this, or 564 municipalities that the state of New Jersey has listed in their MLSs. But should you be putting that listing that you get in any MLS? No, there's a primary MLS for different areas. Now, what makes an MLS primary for an area? It's the one that most of the agents are using in that area. So why would you put a listing in an MLS that nobody's looking for a property in that particular area? You would be doing your clients a disservice. You'd be following the law putting it in the MLS, but you wouldn't be serving your client's best interest because you didn't put it in the right MLS. So, for example, Garden State MLS, its primary areas of coverage are Union County, Essex County, Somerset, Morris, Hunterdon, Warren, and Sussex. All Jersey MLS, formerly Central Jersey MLS, they formerly Middlesex County MLS, is now All Jersey MLS. I guess they're trying to get a wider market share by changing their name from Middlesex County to Central Jersey to All Jersey. So their primary area of coverage is Middlesex County. Yeah, they changed their name, but they're still just Middlesex County. But they've also merged. Let me see. We have Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS or More MLS. They now merged with the Southern Ocean MLS and Cape May County MLS. So if you join the Monmouth Ocean MLS, there was always a separate Southern Ocean County MLS. Well, they merged now, so that's good. You don't need to get an extra MLS membership there to be able to put a listing in. And they've also had Cape May attached to them. Then we have our MLS, that's the Hudson County MLS. Their primary area of coverage is Hudson County, except for the northernmost section, which primary area is that NJMLS. Their primary area of coverage is northern part of Hudson, Passaic, and Bergen counties. And then we have a new one here, formerly called Trend. We have Bright MLS. They cover the southwestern part of the state, everything from Mercer County straight down to Atlantic, and then you make a left. And then, of course, you got the Cape May County MLS, which they did merge with Monmouth Ocean and Southern Ocean. All right, so you guys can only become a member of the MLS if your brokers are a member of the MLS. Broker pays higher membership fees, but each one of these have a fee if you were to join one of them. And you also, for most of them, not all of them, you need to be a realtor in good standing. You need to be a member of a Realtors Association in order to be a member of the MLSs, some of them. You guys are going to become members of a local association, which is going to also sign you up for the state association, which is going to also sign you up for national NAR. So you're going to pay the dues once for all three. And you get different benefits with each one, but the state association gives you the most tools. They give you the digital contract, the electronic contract form systems where you could create and edit contracts and email them to people for signatures and do them on the tablets and stuff like that. They give you tools where you can take all of your MLS memberships and plug them into this one tool, and you can do one search for all of the MLSs at the same time. It also gives you a bunch of other tools within it, like looking at flood zones and all kinds of other stuff. So each MLS has their own membership fees. Every MLS in New Jersey will have a listing of all 21 counties and 564 municipalities. But you got to make sure when you get a listing, you put it in the right one. Okay. Now here's a listing. If you were to click on this, here's a listing of all the MLSs in New Jersey. Okay. I showed you the breakdown of them here and the ones that have merged and all that. But if you click on this, you can see each individual one and their contact information. See, the Southern Jersey Shore Regional MLS, they don't even have their own website anymore, but they're still in existence, but they merged. Realty multiple listing systems, you see Caucus, right? So we have all of these, but I gave you the breakdown of them right here. So on the slideshows, you guys will have access to these. Let me add them to that ClassLinks Word document, which, by the way, I added your class here to the playlist, and I just sent it to you guys in the chat window. Your class recordings, your class playlist. And you can see it's on this one right now, too. Because your class is SPD-0714-2025. That's the start date. All right. So everybody here got that got the link for your class playlist there?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just going to copy all of these links for you into that ClassLinks Word document right now. So just give me 1 second here to get that done. And great. So just so you can see what I did here in the ClassLinks Word document, I'm just adding all of these things, all these notes from some of these slides and the different MLSs and the links to everything. Okay, so these are primarily the residential MLSs. Although you can put land, businesses, and commercial real estate in them. There are separate MLSs that are primary for commercial because they have special tools that come with them that would be considered illegal or discriminatory if they were in the residential MLSs that we use. the ones that are primarily residential, because you could search for things like person's the population in the area, whether they're married or single, their ethnicity, their all kinds of demographics, their income, relationship status, ethnicity, religion, whether they're owner occupants or not, uh, traffic street counts, how many vehicles pass by each day. Some of this stuff could be considered discriminatory if it was you were able to use that as a search criteria in the primarily residential MLSs. But in commercial, you need to know information like this because you're searching for properties for businesses. And businesses have to know what their primary target audience is for whatever service or product it is that they're selling. Like, let's just say that you have some sort of an ethnic clothing store or an eatery. Anybody can wear any kind of clothing or eat any kind of food, but you got to target your primary audience where there's the higher population of the people that are more likely to be buying that clothing or eating the food, right? So it only makes sense to do that if you're a business owner wanting to open up a business. Say you want to open up some sort of a Asian supermarket or eatery. Anybody can eat Asian food, but you want to get it you want to open it primarily in an area where there's a high Asian population. Your products will sell a lot better, right? It only makes sense to do things of that nature. So, you guys ever watch that show on TV called Bar Rescue? Where John Taffer goes in there, he sees failing bars, and he tries to find out why they're failing and turns them around. And one of the first things he does is he pulls out this map of the area. I mean, he pulls out the layout, the blueprints of the building, but he also pulls out a map of the area, everything within 1, 3, and 5 miles of the location. You guys ever see that show? You ever wonder where he got all that information from? Well, he got it from these commercial MLSs, CoStar. CoStar is the largest commercial MLS in the world. LoopNet is owned by CoStar. They bought them a couple of years back. It's a little bit more affordable to get into commercial real estate. CoStar is kind of expensive because all this data is expensive. The last time I checked a couple of years ago, the cheapest plan in CoStar was $325 a month. So you better be serious about commercial real estate if you're going to get membership in one of these things. Now, I don't know what the membership fees are for them now. They may have changed them up a little bit. I don't know. Then you have CIMLS, that's the commercial industrial MLS. That one is actually owned by a realtors association. So yes, you need to be a realtor, member of the National Association of Realtors in order to get membership in that. 10X is not necessarily a MLS. It's more of a exchange. So it was formerly called LoopNet Auctions, and or it's LoopNet Auctions, formerly called Auction.com. That's what 10X is. And then we got Crexi is another commercial. I'm just giving you guys resources. This is a commercial marketplace. It's not an MLS. So no, you don't need to even be licensed to be a member of any of these except for CIMLS. You could get a membership in any of these commercial MLSs if you're willing to pay. So no license is required to access them. Like the residential MLSs, where you got to be a realtor in good standing, which means that you paid your dues and you took your Realtors Code of Ethics training class. Anyone who just pays for them can get the membership. All right. Yeah. So the differences between those MLSs is the commercial MLSs you're paying for data for the information, whereas the residential MLSs you're paying for the access. And you could, with both of them, you could do searches like radius searches, drawing a shape on a map, and then searching within those boundaries. You could do all kinds of things like that with these MLS tools. All right. Any questions about the MLSs? No?
Nope. Good.
How do you like, I'm saying, how are you using the MLS? I guess you're searching for properties, but let's say, is there a way to like set up automatic like sends or something to like a specific client based on a criteria or something
Yeah.
that they're interested, or specifically, let's say you want to see data only properties over under a certain amount, or whatever it is.
Yep.
I'm assuming you could set up like filters and stuff.
Yep. To automatically email them as well. All right. Now the only pitfall with that, I'm going to give you a little warning is, say somebody doesn't want to see a certain type of property. They don't want to see a certain type of house. The problem with setting up these automatic mailers according to people's criteria is you're assuming that the data, the information was entered properly by the real estate agent to begin with. So, like for you guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. Are you familiar with architectural styles? You guys know the difference between a Cape Cod or ranch, a raised ranch, a split level, a duplex, a over under, a Victorian versus a colonial. You got to familiarize yourself with architectural styles, because if agents get listings and then they just put them in there according to bedroom, numbers of beds and baths, and they choose the wrong architectural style, now you're automatically setting up this automatic search. It's searching for properties that the person didn't even want, and now it's you set up your search criteria correctly, but it's shooting out properties to them that they didn't want, because it was entered into the MLS wrong, you know. So it may be better to manually do those searches and pick through them, and then email them. Although, yes, you can get all techie and set up the filters and all that, but you know what? People will get pissed at you if you start sending them properties that they specifically told you they were not interested in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's no fault of yours. But nonetheless, they're going to get mad at you over it. You know.
How
So
accurate is the whole MLS database? Because you're saying that like not so. And
well,
also, is there a requirement of how many fields that you need to fill in or something? Because there's probably a lot of fields and people just
yeah,
click them
I'm
out.
sure it'll tell you to try to limit your options so that you don't send the whole database to someone. You know. So yeah, I'm sure you got to narrow it down a bit. I really don't play with it too much because I know it's better it you could send more accurate results to people if you do the searches and you narrow them down a bit. Plus, if you don't narrow them down even more, just for the sake of having accurate properties that you're sending to people, um, you're going to have a tough time selling anything because people are going to want to see every single house that's on the market. You're sending them too much information, data overload. So they're going to. I find when you do that, people often don't purchase anything, or it takes them a very long time to do so.
Right.
I mean, I only showed you 96 properties so far. When are you going to make up your mind? On TV, it's only three. Right? You ever watch those real estate programs on TV? They show three properties and you're going to select one of them. That's not reality. But if you want to get closer to that reality, you're not going to be sending them these automated, mailings with all the properties. You're going to try to learn what your client's looking for, particularly the features and stuff on top of the architectural styles and all that, the areas that they're looking in and all that. You want to be able to narrow down because sometimes people want specific neighborhoods but don't want other neighborhoods. So you're going to have to search based on their criteria. And then start filtering through. And then when you narrow down the list, then you send them that narrowed down list. And now they're going to want to set up appointments to see everything.
Yeah. We can suggest them the link and customer can search out their criteria and then they can say
No.
appointment.
You're the one that has the access that you paid for your membership there. You do not share your login or your membership to
Yeah,
that.
no, not the MLS login, not MLS login that you can go for the realtor.com or the whatever all the available.
Yeah, but those sites, everything you might as well go send them to Zillow. You know, they're those things they just get syndicated out to them. All that stuff, there's a big delay between the MLS and the stuff that gets posted on Zillow or Realtor.com. You know, I would say it's about a 7 to 11 day delay for those new listings to go up there.
Oh, okay. That's why recently I was trying to buy some house, and whenever we are going onto the looking into the Zillow.com, most of them when we're calling the realtor is saying already on the contract.
See things up there because the client may not have wanted, may have okayed the listing to be shared in the MLS, but they didn't want it syndicated out to certain websites. And then we can't send them out to them. So you actually put that when you enter the listing, whether they're allowing syndication or not, and then to which websites or not. You know, so
Okay.
you may never see
The
some.
bottom line is that you have to do your homework before you send anything to client.
Yes, yes.
Good, good.
I know you said that there are certain MLSs that you're affiliated with. Being that you have to, I guess, register to each MLS or be a member of it,
Yes.
are they all connected when you look through the primary MLS? No, you would have to go and find.
That have merged.
I'm sorry?
Only the ones that have merged, you get access.
Oh, okay.
You get access to all those MLSs.
So
Is
there's different.
the listings in the same database? You know, it's a good question. I don't know. I really have. I really
that-
in the last couple of years, I really been doing more teaching than real estate. I have access to them, and I work with clients, but I haven't done it so much that I worked in those MLSs that have merged to be able to tell the difference if I got to log into the separate ones or if I could search through one database and it get all the data from all of the merged MLSs. That's the question, right? That you
Yeah.
asked. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I gotta log in and try to experiment with it a little bit, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then that would buy you as the realtor some time instead of logging into 50,000 MLSs that you're a member of.
Yeah. We get that tool through New Jersey MLS,
Oh, okay.
the state association, where you could plug in all your MLS logins and you could do a search through their one central interface. So I'm going to give you links and resources to that actually in this chapter that's coming up. All right. So without further ado, let's get back to that. All right. So this is the commercial MLSs. And then let's see. Page 21, any advertisement that refers to a home. Okay, this we already went over this. We had this in our notes. We're just highlighting it now in the book about anytime you mention something, you offer something extra in the ad, full disclosure is required, right? Like with the home warranty. Or if you're offering a rebate for residential property, you got to disclose that they consult with a tax professional. So where exactly is this? This is third paragraph, page 21. Pretty much highlighting the whole paragraph. And then just below that, any discriminately promised financing, and then right above that, Regulation Z, page 291-293. So if you ever should talk about financing in an ad for whatever reason, you cannot indiscriminately promise financing to all who see the ad. You have to discriminate. You have to use qualifying terms like to those who qualify. or to qualified buyers. And then there's additional disclosures you need to give as well, but for right now, just highlight this and write Regulation Z, page 291 to 293. It is the law called Regulation Z that says that if you talk about financing in an ad, you cannot just indiscriminately offer financing to everybody. So if you say, you know, get into this house for so much of a payment per month, you know, or get the loan for with so much of a down payment or things of that nature. Now you are talking about financing. So you have to say to those who qualify and then disclose additional terms, which I will show you on the next slide. I believe it'll show you all the information about Regulation Z, because Regulation Z is spread out about over these couple pages, 291 to 293. And it's not even clear. We're going to go there. We're going to highlight stuff, but this is clearer. This slide I put together for you guys, this is everything you need to know about Regulation Z in one place. Straight to the point, good notes to study. So Regulation Z is a federal law that implements TILA, which you may have heard of that, the Truth in Lending Act. It requires full disclosure when talking about financing in an ad when certain triggering terms are used. Now, so what is a triggering term? Triggering terms are words used in ads that would require full disclosure of financing terms and qualifying statements to avoid indiscriminately promising financing to everyone. If you mention an interest rate, a payment amount, a down payment amount, or the term, you're talking about financing, and full disclosure would then be required. These are the triggering terms that would trigger that full disclosure requirement for you to now say to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer, so that you're not indiscriminately promising financing to anyone who would see the ad. You have to discriminate. You got to say this loan is only available to those who qualify. That's what that statement means. And you would need to disclose the APR, the down payment amount, if one was required, and the term. The term is the number of payments, the payment periods, or years. Now, the APR is different from an interest rate. APR is always just a smidgen higher than the advertised interest rates. Why? What's the difference? Well, APR stands for annual percentage rate. And what it does is it factors in all those one-time, non-recurring fees associated with getting a loan. Like if you had to pay an application fee or an appraisal fee. Those are not recurring fees, but they are costs associated with getting the loan. You guys understand? So if you were to factor those costs into the loan, into the interest rate, it would raise the interest rate a little bit, a smidgen. And that's what the APR is. They factor those one-time non-recurring fees into the life of the loan, and they break it down to the annual basis, how that would change the interest rate, and it's always just a smidgen higher. But it's more like the true cost of getting the loan. Gives you a better picture. Now, Regulation Z does not apply to business loans, commercial loans, cash transactions, reverse mortgages, or land loans with removable dwellings, like mobile homes. Penalties for violating the administrative order of Regulation Z and giving all these disclosures as is required by federal law is $10,000 per day that your advertisement is out there in the public domain and violating the law. Plus attorney fees. Willful violation of the law is considered a misdemeanor crime, which they could impose an additional $5,000 fine and up to a year in prison for. All right, so that's Regulation Z. Implements TILA. Certain triggering terms are used in an ad. Interest rate, payment amount, down payment amount, or the term. Full disclosure is required. You gotta discriminate by saying to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer and disclose the APR, down payment, or term. And fine is up to $10,000 or not up to, it's $10,000 per day that ad is out there. So if you put an ad in a real estate magazine that was published monthly, let me see, average, what do we got, 30 days a month times $10,000 a day. That can add up quick. Hope your errors and emissions insurance is paid up.
Why would a realtor post like financing
Yeah, why would
number?
exactly.
It's like they're not even a mortgage broker, and how do they like? Why would they like offer information that they're not proficient in?
You're trying to sell it too hard. Get into this house for as little as and whatever the monthly payment is. So if you mention a monthly payment like that, hey, instead of telling people, hey, this house is $500,000, if you show them the monthly payment, or maybe even break it down to a daily amount, it seems more affordable to people. It's a sales tactic that some people try to use.
I've seen such ads, and like I never would like really trust it because I'll be like, that's not your job. It's like, you're advertising the wrong thing.
They're trying to be slick salespeople. That's basically what they're trying to do. Just like the car manufacturers do these things. They try to pull one over your, don't look over here at the actual price. Look over here at how it would be. And just paying an additional $20,000 for this house equate to maybe additional $50 a month in your mortgage payment. For the life of the 30-year loan. So they try to sell you on the smaller amount because it's easier for people to swallow. You know what I'm saying? So
I had a question here that we are supposed to get them pre-qualified from a mortgage agent, and they are supposed to take care of all this stuff.
Pre-qualified from someone else that maybe they already went to mortgage reps, but you know what? I'm always going to want to make sure before I turn on the computer and start searching for properties, calling up and making appointments, and then driving you around, only to find out later that you have a 200 credit score and you can't buy squat. I'm going to want to make sure that I get you on the phone with a mortgage rep to at least get at minimum, get a mortgage pre-qualification letter, what does that entail? You give your social security number to the mortgage rep. They run your credit report to find out what your credit score is, making sure you got at least a minimum of like a 620 credit score. That's considered prime. That's average. And then it goes based off of what you tell them, how much money you make, and what you tell them what your approximate long-term debts are. And based on that unverified information so far, they spit out a mortgage pre-qualification letter. But at least they ran your credit. So at least I could be sure that you may be able to get a loan. But if you got like a really poor credit score, even turning the computer on to search for homes. Why am I wasting my time? Trust me, I was in your places as new agents, eager to get my first deal, eager out there to try to help people and be as helpful as I can. And then, I would show them properties. I would show them anything they wanted. I'd run them around the place. Then they were interested in making an offer to the place. I get them on the phone with a mortgage rep. And the guy's like, your credit score is 450 or something like that. And I was just like, oh, Jesus. I just realized I wasted so much time running these people around for a couple of days, showing them properties, you know, making up appointments, wasting my gas, you know, wasting my time and energy. When I could have been spending that on working with people who could actually afford to buy a house and get into a house. You know, these people would be lucky if they could get a rental.
Okay,
Well,
so we
I have
should
a question.
basically, if some, prospective, some customer comes, so we should just first try to get the credit score, I mean, direct them to a mortgage agent or something
Yes.
and tell them to get pre-qualified because,
Application letter from a lender that I never heard of because it's so obscure. I'm gonna ask them to get pre-qualified through my mortgage rep. I'm gonna say, listen, you can use whoever you want to get the actual loan through, but I want you to get your pre-qualified through somebody that I know. They're going to run your credit. They're going to see what your credit's like, and then based on your income and your debts, your assets, and all that stuff. They could tell you what your approximate monthly payment would be. Would you find that useful as a buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? Would you find that useful to know what your approximate monthly mortgage payment would be? Not just that you're pre-qualified for a mortgage, but wouldn't you want to know how much that monthly payment would be so that you could better see if that's really within your budget? You know,
Yeah.
it's one thing to be
then we can even slot the price range exactly what they are looking for.
yes.
Be more accurate in exactly what they are looking for and
You really don't want people extending themselves, you know, either, you know, I mean, some agents don't care. They'll sell you anything just to get the sale, you know, but yeah, I'm not looking to jam people up. I want them to buy a house and be happy with it and refer me to other people. But I don't want to put people in a bad financial situation where they're overextending themselves, buying too much house, and it's like the maximum that they can afford. But if any hiccup ever happened in life where they needed to apply the money to something else on a medical emergency or something that or the car broke down and needed a repair, that they would now be in danger of getting foreclosed on because they wouldn't be able to afford to make such payments. You know, you stretch yourself out way too much. You know, and I wouldn't want people to do that. You know, I just wouldn't feel right doing that. You know, there's salespeople out there that don't care. Me, I wouldn't feel right having you overextending yourself like that. I'd like you to know, you know, that you're within a price range that's comfortable, a payment that's comfortable for you, with a little cushion.
right.
All right, so everybody everybody snap a picture of this Regulation Z here.
Got it.
All right. We good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So here now we'll do the highlights, which is in a much later chapter where they actually go over Regulation Z. See, they just started talking about Regulation Z here, but like I said, my OCD won't allow us to get past it without me fully explaining it to you. So I went over the full explanation of Regulation Z, which actually normally isn't gone over into a much later chapter. So let's just turn to page 291 and do all the highlights for Regulation Z and get that out of the way now. And later on, when we get to that chapter, we could kind of just review it really quickly and get through it. So Truth in Lending Act is implemented by Regulation Z. Does not apply to cash transactions, business and commercial loans. See, my description gets even further into other types of properties that it does not cover. Regulation Z requires the borrower to be fully informed of all the finance charges. Here's the additional ones. Does not apply to home equity lines of credit, reverse mortgages, land loans secured by movable dwellings attached but not attached to the property. This is interesting as well. Not entirely directed about Regulation Z, I guess, but TRID stands for the reason I drink. No, I'm kidding. That stands for the TILA-RESPA Integrated Disclosure Statement. It it requires the CFPB, that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's a new agency that President Obama created. And they took over a lot of the duties that were already being done by HUD. So one may ask, well, why did he create a new governmental agency? Good question. Because when he created it, they had no oversight. They weren't answerable to Congress or the President of the United States. So a lot of people liken this to creating a fourth branch of government, right? If they're not answerable to anybody, they could create their own laws. They create their own fines if you violate the laws. They collect the fines. So, what's their motivation? To create as many rules as they can that people violate that they could then collect fines on so that it could grow. But President Trump fought against this and eventually won in the Supreme Court. And, they had it changed that the CFPB is now answerable to both Congress and the president, as it should have been to begin with. I don't know why he did not do that from the get-go. But anyway, HUD always had a booklet on shopping for homes and shopping for loans and loan affordability. So the CFPB they took it, rebranded it, changed things around a little bit in it, and it's now called the Your Home Loan Toolkit. It must be given within 3 business days of any loan application. It also requires delivery or mailing of early disclosures about the proposed loan, like a good faith estimate, within 3 business days of the completed loan application. And until that disclosure has been made, the lender can't charge any fees except for a credit report. A loan application is considered complete when prospective borrowers provide the address of the property, the loan requested, the income of all the borrowers, the estimated property value, and the names of all the borrowers and their social security numbers. An acronym to remember those items is ALIENS. So when the aliens have landed, when the aliens are present here, the loan application is considered complete. When you provided A, the address of the property, L, the loan amount requested, I, the incomes, E, the estimated property value, N, the names, and S, the social security numbers. Aliens. That's what that stands for. And then this just explains, the annual percentage rate and such. Who is considered a creditor that needs to follow Regulation Z? Well, the regulation defines a creditor as anyone who extends credit more than 25 times a year or 5 times if the transaction involves a real estate as the security. Okay, so next page, 292. Let's do these highlights and write these notes in here. 3-day right of rescission only applies to refinancing. This right of rescission does not apply to residential purchase money first mortgage loans. In other words, purchase money mortgage is any loan, including the seller financing used to buy real estate. Reading it backwards, it's mortgage, money to purchase. And this is just an explanation of the triggering terms. And then the arrows pointing down to another place where there's examples of the triggering terms, which after you get these notes, we'll go to that slide. Just let me know when everybody's done with the notes though, okay?
Got it.
Okay, anybody else still writing? Taking notes? Anybody else need a minute? Are we good? Good? All right. So on the next page, that article continues to this point, which shows you an example of the triggering terms. If you see in an ad, 30-year loan available, payment of $14.32, including principal and interest, only 5% down. These are examples of what a triggering term would look like in an ad that would trigger that full disclosure requirement. These are examples of things that are not considered triggering terms. You know, financing available, terms negotiable, owner may finance, then again, they may not. Assume a 5% APR loan. Attractive financing, or $400,000 mortgage available. These things would not trigger the full disclosure requirement because it's not really talking about the financing. And remember, you have to use one of these phrases to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer in the ad as well. Everybody got that?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
But on the
Yeah.
next page, 293, just get the penalties down there now. Fines and penalties. See, I told you, it's like peppered over the span of a couple of pages, you know, versus my notes, which was all compressed in like a little story-like fashion in one little place, you know. Easier notes to study, I guess. You get questions about Regulation Z on your exams. Even though you may get questions about Regulation Z that may not even have the words Regulation Z, they just talk about what it does, you know? So they may or may not use the term Regulation Z. All good?
Yes.
So once again, if you didn't get it the first time, here is the slide all about Regulation Z if you wanted to get a screenshot of it. These notes are a lot easier to study. It's all in one place. It's all direct to the point.
And it's usually, or also known as federal law, or like on the exam, would they refer to it as the federal law that requires financing terms like?
I think I'll ask you some things like, what is the law that implements the Truth in Lending or TILA?
Okay, so if they don't mention Regulation Z, they would like refer to it as the law.
Well, like I said, they got a database of thousands of questions. They may or may not use the term Regulation Z in your particular question that you get, you know. They could just be asking about when talking about financing in an ad and certain triggering terms are used, what needs to be disclosed. You know, it's still talking about Regulation Z stuff, right? But we don't need to use the word Regulation Z. It doesn't even need to be a multiple choice answer option. Or they could say which, you know, what law requires disclosing certain terms when triggering terms are used in an ad. When certain triggering terms are used in an ad that offers financing. Or what law makes it illegal to indiscriminately promise financing to anyone who sees your ad about which talks about financing, you know, something to that effect, you know, and then you select Regulation Z. Okay. All right, back to page 21. Let's get back to chapter 2. All right, so notice advertising or sign may indicate that a property is sold until title's passed to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed. I want you to underline the word title and write page 383 under that. So you do not have to advertise the status of listings in ads or on signs. But if you choose to, the status must be accurate. So if you mention sold, it better have closed and there's a new owner now. Not just that you put it on the market and you got an offer that the seller accepted. That's not sold yet. There's plenty of opportunity for that deal to fall apart. It's not sold until the transaction closes and there's a new owner. The old owner is no longer affiliated with the property, right? So the transaction is closed, there's a new owner, and title has transferred. What is title? I mentioned it in passing yesterday. The word title in real estate simply means ownership. There is no document in real estate called title. Now, you may hear people referring to title work. You got the title work on the property. Well, you could do a title search. What does title mean? Ownership. So you could do an ownership search of the public records to make sure there's no liens or encumbrances on a property other than those the seller has disclosed. That's as close to paperwork as we're going to get with the word title. There is no document in real estate called title. We transfer title, ownership, through a document called the deed. I'll have a separate slide all on this stuff. Okay, so anybody here ever see a sold sign rider on a real estate sign on the property?
It was rare for me to see sold signs on houses.
But you do see them, right?
Yeah, like maybe in my whole life, maybe like 6, 7, but I mostly see under contract.
That is under contract. That's something specific too. It's when the parties, an offer has been accepted, it went to attorney review, it's out of attorney review, and now the parties are in a legally binding contract with each other. That's what under contract status means. Sold means transactions closed and there's a new owner. So think of it, if you ever seen a sold sign rider on a real estate sign, it probably should not have been there. Especially if you saw it there for weeks on end. Kept driving by and that seemed like that sign was there forever, right? Hmm.
I've seen them up for a long time, but like in properties that were like, like a larger deal, let's say like semi-commercial or something like that, they say like sold by, whatever, whatever,
It
until
doesn't,
someone moves in there.
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a residential or if it's a commercial property. You have to advertise if you're going to put a sign rider on there, it has to accurately reflect the status. You can't falsely advertise a property, right? Um,
Yeah. No, I'm saying that most people don't put up a sign sold
uh,
unless it was like a large accomplishment. That's what I see in my town and where I live, you
well,
know?
yeah, I see people put them up. You may notice it a little bit more, or you may not have been paying attention as much. You may notice them a little bit more as you're taking a real estate class. Trust me, a lot of things that I mentioned to you in class, some of the terminology, you're gonna be watching a movie and you're gonna be like, oh, I just learned that term. Like some of the things are now gonna attract you a little bit more because you heard them and you studied it a little bit. So now you're gonna pay attention. You're gonna start noticing things that previously kind of like went by you before because you aren't paying attention to them because you didn't care about them. But now you're gonna be like real estate. Oh, sign. Oh, that sign that had sold sign rider on it. Look at that. And the people put them on there. Agents usually put them on there to show. Yeah, look, I'm the one who is selling this neighborhood. Look how quickly I put the sold sign rider up. You know, I got a listing right now that I put the listing up the next day, it got spread out through the MLS, and I had showings already, and I had a written offer in 2 days. Now, do I advertise that the property is sold in 2 days? Because they got a written offer that was accepted by the seller in 2 days? That's not sold. It's still not sold. It's closed. We got a new transfer of ownership. We got a new owner. But yet you see real estate agents out there all the time, listed and sold in a day. No, you didn't. You didn't sell nothing in a day. What? They bought you a duffel bag of cash and they gave them the keys and they walked out of the house and there was a transfer like that in a day. That's the only time where that would be true. So and that's highly doubtful. So most of the time you see real estate agents listed and sold in a day or 2 days or 3 days. It's BS. It's nonsense. It's not true. How come the real estate commission doesn't go after these people then? Because nobody filed a formal complaint, or maybe an investigator didn't see it themselves. You know, um, but they could if they came across it because it's nonsense. Now, coming soon, we learned is just nothing more than a delayed showing, right? So here's that coming soon form once again, where it just shows you that it's just a delayed showing for no more than 10 days. You can, if you need more than 10 days, you could fill out another one of these forms with the owner to get an additional 10 days delay. But then you can't be showing it either. All right, now here is my slide that I put together pertaining to the word title. Actually, a couple of things. Once again, this is those take a picture or take a screenshot slides. This is a good one. You know what? I think I may have done a change in format. I'm going to open up a chapter. I'm going to open up a later slide from a later chapter. Talks about title. Hmm. Title. Nope, not in that slideshow. Check another chapters slideshow. Just doing a search for something to see if there's an updated slide of this slide. Not in that chapter. Wow. 20. Okay. What chapter is that? 383. Chapter 21. Bring it down.
So you are looking for this
Just-
page
I'm just
83, unit 21, chapter 21.
Yeah, I'm looking at the slideshow of chapter 21, and I'm comparing that slide to this one to see, because I see a change. It's a different, a little bit formatted, just a little bit different. It looks a little bit different. Just want to make sure that all
Okay,
the,
you're getting the slide. Okay.
yeah.
Chapter 21.
Yeah, because as you can see, here, I'll show you. See how this one is formatted a
Yeah, it's
little
the
bit?
same. It's the same.
It's the same information here, but it just looks a little bit different. This is centered, has recording a document. I just want to make sure all that stuff is the same as this one, which has all the same information, just that this is not centered there.
But even the first option on the book is saying abstract of title with attached attorney's opinion.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The first one, the evidence of title, in the book it is saying abstract of title with attached attorney opinion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Abstract the title with attorney's opinion.
Yeah.
That's one of the 4 evidences of title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so here, as you guys can see, I got it on screen now in front of you. We got this one, or we got this slide. I could use either one of these slides. They both have the same thing. I just changed the format, I guess, a little bit. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer unless the buyer records the deed and their signature needs to be acknowledged. Ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer until and if the buyer records the deed and their signature is acknowledged. Okay, so that's just an additional thing there. I got a little more technical on this definition, but otherwise, and up top under deed, something changed. Says the exact, let's see, 2 different ways to define what the deed is, but says the exact same thing. It reads, the deed is, but it's saying the exact same thing. All right, we'll keep this one here. Okay, so I'll delete this. So this one for the different change, slight change in wording, not much. So we'll get rid of that one and we'll keep this one. All right, so there you go. It's just a slight change in wording. Okay, so title. Title is just a word that means ownership. There is no document in real estate called title. It's not like your car. When you buy a car, they give you the title, and the title is your proof of ownership of that vehicle, right? In real estate, title is just a word that means ownership. There's no document. We use a deed in real estate to transfer title, meaning ownership. So there's two different ways to define what a deed is, but saying the same exact thing. But it says the same exact thing. A deed is a document used to transfer ownership, but is not proof of ownership. That's the simple, dumbed down explanation. The more learned sounding way of saying the same exact thing is a deed is an instrument used to convey title, but is not evidence of title. Those two statements say the same exact thing. Look, instrument's another word for document. Convey is another word for transfer. Evidence is another word for proof. Title is another word for ownership. So it's basically saying the same exact thing, right? Now, a deed is also used not just to transfer one's ownership, but also to transfer one's rights or interest in real property, like air rights, mineral rights, subsurface rights, or a partial ownership interest in a property. So the deed is the document that is used to transfer these ownership or rights in a piece of real estate. Ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, which is why the deeds do not need to be dated or signed by the buyer. And they're still valid. So ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer unless the buyer records the deed in the public records and their signature needs to be acknowledged. Or we could even add that. Records the deed in the public records. That's actually what recording a deed means. You're adding it to the public records. Now that I made a modification there, I should probably also do that modification to the chapter 20 slide.
So if like a deed is not the proof of ownership, what is the proof of ownership?
Okay, you asked the right question.
Because
Okay.
it's
Look at the bottom of the slide. So a deed is not proof of ownership. A deed is not evidence or proof of ownership. So what is? That was a very good question. An abstract of title with attorney's opinion, a certificate of title, a title insurance policy, or a torrent certificate. But before I explain those, I'm going to give you a quick explanation of them, then we're going to move on. Let me first also go over recording a document. What is recording a document? Recording a document is adding it to the public records in the county hall of records where all ownership documents and land records are kept. Usually the county courthouse. You know, the one full of sheriff's officers all over the place, those armed guards all over. We do not record documents in the public. Why do we record documents in the public record? To put the world on notice of our interest in the property. So we want to record our new ownership, that we're now the owner of the property and the other guy is not. Or attaching a lien to a property, because we sued somebody, we got a lawsuit judgment. We found out that they own real estate, so we're going to attach that lien to the we're going to take that lawsuit judgment and turn it into a lien against the property. Basically, a lien is a financial claim against real estate. So we're saying that it needs to be paid. So before this guy sells it, a future buyer is going to do a title search and they're going to be like, oh, there's a lien on this property. We're not buying this property unless you pay that off first, because liens attach to properties, not the property owners. So who in their right mind would buy a property that has a lien attached to it? It doesn't make any sense to do that. So you're going to want to make sure that that seller clears up those liens, and that's a good way to make sure you get paid your money by putting a lien on their property if you're owed money by that person. Contractors do it. People who win lawsuits do that, you know. Okay, so what are those four proofs of ownership? A more limited way of saying it, four evidences of title. Okay, which way do you think the exams, what wording do you think the exam's going to be using? Proof of ownership or evidence of title?
Evidence of title.
You know they're going to do that. They want you to know that more fancy sounding way of saying the same exact thing. Same thing here with they instead of saying document, they're going to be using the words instrument and convey. Okay, so you got to understand the vocab here, the vocabulary. All right, so what are the four proofs of ownership? Those four evidences of title. An abstract of title with attorney's opinion. So what is an abstract? Here, I'm going to show you an easy way to figure things out on exam, just using a little bit of common sense. Anybody here drive a car? When you got a car, did you have to get car insurance? Do you have car
Yeah.
insurance? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. You know, so when you got that car insurance, didn't the insurance company want a copy of your driver's license so that they could search your driving record?
Yes.
So they wanted a condensed history of your driving record, an abstract of your driving record.
Yes.
So now that we know what an abstract is, it's a condensed history of something, your driving record, or in this case, abstract of title. What does title mean?
Ownership.
So an abstract of the ownership related to this property. So that means somebody called an abstractor. Actually, that's actually a job. They go down and they search the public records and they try to find all the documents related to a parcel of real estate as far back in history as they can locate. And they put that list of documents in chronological order according to the date that they were recorded in the public record. And then they turn it over to an attorney. And now an attorney will match things up to make sure that there were no improper transfers in the past where maybe an owner did not sign the deed when the ownership was transferred, or if it was someone else that signed the deed, maybe that owner died and they left it to a child and then it was their property. So there should have been some sort of other documents supporting that they're now the owner now. That was recorded in a public record. And if it's not, we need to clear that up because that's a potential what we call cloud on the title. When I say cloud on the title, think of a dark thunderstorm cloud hovering over your ownership. We want to clear that up, right? Who wants to live under a dark thunderstorm cloud? So cloud on the title usually means that there's a possible negative thing going on with this property here pertaining to the ownership. So we need to make sure that that person who signed actually had the right to sign. Because if you bought this property and somebody steps forward in the future and says, hey, in the past, that property was my grandpa's property, and he never sold it, he was swindled out of that property, and I could prove it. And if they can prove it, because there's no supporting documents to show that he actually sold it, or somebody who had the rights to sell it sold it, he can make a claim of the ownership and you'd have to give him the property. No compensation. Why? Because you're in possession of stolen property now. But I paid for it. Oh, that doesn't matter. If you buy a stolen car, are the cops going to let you keep it because you paid for it? No. Same kind of thing here. So,
So Victor, here question
yeah.
is that now this property has a loan. So what happened to loan? Is that if property is now owner is someone else, then that loan goes to bank, or I have to pay that loan also?
This is why, good question. You'd have to pay the loan off.
Yeah, because that loan is on the property. No, I'm not owner of property.
Now,
So why loan on me?
No, Don't shoot the messenger. Explain. This is why when you buy a property, we encourage you, and the attorneys usually take it upon themselves to order for you a title search and order title insurance. They should also be explaining to you that there are two types of title insurance policies. Some attorneys do, some just explain that to you. Some of them don't, and they just order it and they bill you for it. Title insurance, basically, there's two types. There's a seller's policy, or I'm sorry, there's a buyer's policy and there's a lender's policy. And you as the buyer are encouraged to purchase them both. So the title company does the title search, making sure that there's no outstanding liens or encumbrances on this property other than those that the seller has told you about and you have accepted. And now if anything pops up later on, somebody else is able to prove that they're the owner, or there's liens on the property that the title, the abstractor didn't catch, well, you're insured now. The title insurance company will pay off those liens or clear up any clouds on a title. However, if somebody steps forward and proves that they're the rightful owner, the lender's policy will reimburse the lender for any standing amount on the loan, and the buyer's policy will reimburse you for any money that you laid out to date making payments on that house. So, does it make sense to get title insurance?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, look at you. You're trying to shoot the messenger when I said, yeah, you got to pay for it, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, title insurance makes sense. And there's those two policies. Now, so that's the abstract of title with attorney's opinion. So the attorney will render an opinion. So you're going to get that abstract with hopefully get the title insurance as well. And if you don't have to. In this case, the first ownership is just an abstract of title where they're searching the public records, and then the attorney examines it and then tells you if you got good, clear title ownership or not. If the attorney screws up and makes a mistake, good luck with that. You're going to have to sue them. If the abstractor makes a mistake, well, they got insurance. They got E&O insurance like we do. Next one is a certificate of title, which is often oral or implied. On just you got good ownership. Would you as proof of ownership when you're buying a house? Check the public records. You got good ownership. You don't even get anything in writing. Would you rely on that? Somebody said, you got good ownership. It's clear. I wouldn't rely on that. But who would? A lender would. Often when lenders are lending you money, before they authorize the release of the funds to the closing agent, which is often the attorney or title company, before they authorize that release of the funds to go through with the purchase, they're going to ask if they have obtained some sort of proof of ownership, evidence of title. Before they authorize the release of the funds to buy this property. And sometimes in locales, you may have an attorney that says, yeah, I went down, I searched the public records, they got good, clear title. And then the lender's like, okay, you're authorized then to release the funds. They went based off of what the attorney told them. It's a verbal implication that you got good, clear title. The next one is a title insurance policy. This is the one that's most often used in New Jersey, where you will buy title insurance, that lender's policy and the buyer's policy. But before the insurance company is going to insure you, they're going to want to do a thorough search themselves of the public record to make sure you got good, clear title before they're going to insure you. So they're probably going to do the most thorough job because they're putting their money on the line. right? So they search back a minimum of 60 years, but they search back as far in history as they can. And then we have a tolling certificate. This is not used in New Jersey at all, but you still need to know that it is one of the 4 evidences of title, because that's going to be an exam question for you in itself. What are the 4 evidences of title? Are you raising? Oh, okay. I thought you were going like this.
I was reading 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, these are the 4 evidences of title: abstract of title with attorney's opinion, certificate of title, title insurance policy,
Insurance and torrent.
Torrent certificate. Correct. You also need to know, is a deed evidence of title?
No.
No, it's
Deed
not.
transfer method.
Deed is just a document that's used to transfer the ownership, right? I got a blank deed on my computer. I could fill in your house, your address, your name, all that information on a piece of paper. And
Yeah.
then, does that mean now that I'm the owner of your property because I got a deed to it? No. It's not an evidence of title. It's not proof of ownership.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully I cleared those things up a little bit for you guys. Now, when we transfer that ownership, we record it in the public records. Okay. But if you don't, is the sale still valid?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer unless they plan on recording it in the public records, at which time their signature needs to be acknowledged by a notary public, a judge, attorney, or a trusted public official, like an elected politician. Believe it or not. Yeah, that gives me a chuckle every time I say it too. So
Elected politician.
So is there the possibility that if you ever do a title search, because people are not required to record their ownership in the public records, that they did not record them in the public records? This is what's known as a break in the chain or a gap in the chain of title. A chain of title, well, chains have many links in it. Think of each owner as a link in the chain. And if you search the public records, you should be able to see all the documents from each owner. But if one didn't record them, and then you see a next owner, but that owner didn't buy from this owner that was last recorded in a public record, that creates a cloud on the title, right? Because that person didn't buy it from this one, so we just discovered a gap. So we need to clear up that gap. And how do we do that? We try to track down the person we bought from. Get them to sign a quitclaim deed, to give up a quitclaim deed. By getting them to sign that, you're getting them to quit their claims of interest in the property. Or you can produce all the evidence to a judge and have a judge rule that you are the rightful owner of the property based on the evidence you supplied to them that you bought it from this person who could be dead now, who knows. So the judge would make a ruling on that. Okay.
So my quick question, who is responsible to record? Means today I bought the house, closing is happened, done. Then who is going to go to record that in the public?
Recording documents, well, each party's responsible for recording their own. But usually you'll have an attorney on your side, the other person will have an attorney on their side. So each attorney is responsible for recording the documents pertaining to their clients into the public.
Okay, record. Yeah, because I'm asking because I bought home, but I never gone for recording. So definitely the attorney did that.
Your attorney should have done that for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you ever get the title? I'm sorry, did you ever get the deed? The recorded deed that was stamped and recorded?
I don't know because they given that much file, we just sign and that's it.
Well, access to the MLS is, I know the Garden State MLS gives us access to public records. So I could search and I could see your deed that's in the public record if it was recorded.
Can you check?
You should call the attorney and just make sure that it was recorded.
Yep.
Okay.
I will check.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
because
it's now 7, 8 year old because I did this home on 2017. So now it's
you could either call the attorney still, they should have the records, or you could search the public records in the MLS. You know, it's important to know because if you did not have your ownership recorded in the public records, you're still the owner of the property. But now, let's just say I get a deed now, and I get the guy who sold you that property to sign it.
let's see. When I get the realtor license, then we can search.
The owner now. And whoever records it first in the public records is going to be the owner.
He's the owner. Yeah. That is also one of the question. Who is the ownership? Who has record first?
Yeah. Because the deed is not dated.
Yeah.
Why are deeds not dated? Because the ownership transfers upon delivery and acceptance of that document called the deed. At the moment the seller gives it to the buyer and they accept it, they're now the owner.
Yeah.
That's why they don't need to be dated or signed by the buyer.
Yeah.
It needs to be named in the deed, and the seller needs to sign and date, but the buyer don't. Actually, they don't need to date; they just need to sign. Okay. So this is a pretty good slide that explains this stuff pretty good. Now, since we went over some of those things, since we spent all of that time from chapter 2, right? So that we get credit for it in the later chapter when we go over it. So we don't got to spend as much time on it, right? So let's go to page 357 and let's do these highlights and write these notes, put a little protections, most to the least. These are types of deeds now. We just use deed as a general term. It's a document used to transfer ownership, but there are different types of deeds that do different things. So a deed is a written instrument by which an owner of real estate intentionally conveys their right, title, or interest in a parcel of real estate. Deeds need to be recorded into the statute of frauds. Anytime you hear the term statute of frauds, you need to know that term. Anytime you hear the term statute of frauds, it requires something to be in writing. The owner who sells or gives the land is referred to as the grantor. They're granting their ownership to you. And the person who acquires the title is called the grantee. Here's a little tip. Some of these Latin terms, the legal terminology, words that end in OR is the person who's giving whatever the root word is, and words that end in EE is the one who's receiving it. Like a lease. You guys know what a lease is? When you're renting, you get a lease, right? So the lessor is the person who gives the lease. That's the landlord. And the lessee is the tenant, the one receiving it.
Yeah.
See, doesn't it make it a lot easier to recognize who the players are? If you understand words that end in O is the person who's giving whatever the root word is. When we're talking about grant, the grantor is the one who's granting the ownership of the real estate. And the grantee is the one who's receiving it. All right. So, we'll have a chart in chapter 7 about that. Types of deeds. We have the full covenant and warranty deed, which it goes by several names. Full warranty deed, full covenant and warranty deed. A covenant, by the way, it's not a bunch of witches. It is a legal promise. A covenant is a legal promise. Then we have the bargain and sale deed with covenants against grantors act, also known as the bargain and sale CAG or CVG type deed. Those are the most common types of deeds used here in New Jersey. It's a type of deed where the owner says, I've done nothing to encumber the property as long as it's been in my possession that I've been the owner. I'm not guaranteeing you anybody that's owned it before me. For that, do your own due diligence. So get a title search. I'm only guaranteeing that as long as I've owned it, I've done nothing to encumber it. A straight bargain and sale deed has no covenants. So these are two very different deeds. If you have a deed that says bargain and sale CAG, and then you have a bargain and sale deed, nothing after it, they're two very different deeds. The bargain and sale deed without any covenants just says, I got the legal right to sell the property. I'm not guaranteeing you the quality of the title. And lastly, a quitclaim deed is a deed that someone signs to give up any interest that they may have in the property without admitting they have any interest or not. You don't even need to be an owner of a property to sign a quitclaim deed. You're just, by signing a quitclaim deed, you're just asking somebody to give up their interest in the property. I could ask you to sign a quitclaim deed on my property. Do you have any interest in my property? No. So if you signed a quitclaim deed for my property, does the person who gets the quitclaim deed gain anything?
No.
However, if you bring the property and they ask you to sign a quitclaim deed, a quitclaim deed can just as effectively transfer the ownership of real estate as a full warranty deed. But it's not making any guarantees or promises or claims whatsoever. It's just an owner who's giving up their interest in the property to you. Everybody got these notes? Highlights, notes, whatever?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So staying in that same section on page 383, I have explained to you a chain of title. There's many links in the chain, and each owner is a link in that chain. And if you can link one owner to the next, you now have a chain of title. That's all a chain of title is. A chain of title shows the record of ownership of the property over the period of time. An abstract of title is a condensed history of all the documents, the instruments affecting a particular parcel of land that you find in the public records. So through the chain of title, the ownership of the property can be traced from its origin to its present owner. If they recorded it in a public record, and it is in your best interest to record it in a public record for multiple reasons. So if this cannot be done, it's said that there's a gap in the chain. A quitclaim deed is commonly used to bridge such gaps, or sometimes a court action called a suit to quiet title. You're asking a judge to quiet the rumblings that somebody may be making pertaining to the ownership. You want them to rule in your favor as being the absolute owner. Now, I told you it's important to record your ownership interests in the public records for several reasons. We already went over one reason, right? You said that you got a deed, but you don't know if it was recorded or not. So if I get a deed for your property signed by the previous guy that sold it to you, and I went and I recorded it, I'm the owner. Get out of my... all right, so it could create problems. Or, how about this? You bought the house, but you did not record your ownership in the public record yet. Somebody trips and falls on the property. Who are they suing? Whoever's listed in the public record as the owner. And who is that? The previous guy that owned it. You don't own it no more. He's getting sued because you didn't record the fact that you're now the owner. That's why it's in your best interest, or it's in his best interest to make sure that you record your new ownership. And it's also in your best interest to make sure you record your new ownership, because what if that guy that sold you the property gets a lawsuit judgment against them, and in the public records it shows that he still owns the house? Somebody could put a lien on your house because you're not listed as the owner yet. He still is. So there's multiple reasons of why it's in everybody's best interest to record their ownership in the public records. And somebody before asked, well, what is proof of ownership? I think GOT said that, right? And well, evidence of title. Here are the 4 evidences of title, the proof of ownership in the book. We all seen it on that slide that I made, but here it is now in the book. So we're just doing the highlights and making the notes in the book that I've already shown you and gone over with you. That's all we're doing right now.
Yeah, we're in.
Oh, look at that. I didn't know is not is one word. A deed is not proof of owner of title.
And do we pay for the insurance of the title, or is it
You,
that also?
let me phrase what you just asked. Do I pay for my own insurance? Okay. Yeah, you kind of answered your own question, right?
Dinero.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the attorney's opinion. How about if the person didn't hire the attorney?
Can you closer to your mic or speak up a little bit because you're really
About the attorney's opinion. How about if the person didn't hire an attorney?
if the buyer's an attorney?
Yeah. No, if the buyer, because was it yesterday that we spoke about that you don't need an attorney to purchase the house?
Correct.
So what if there is no, or is the attorney's opinion something that comes with, I'm confused about that. Like,
You could, if you're hiring an attorney, you're gonna have that attorney hire an abstractor that goes down and searches the public records to get the documents for them, turns it over to them, and then they examine those records. But if you didn't have an attorney in your transaction, then that's not gonna be one of your proofs of ownership that you're gonna use.
so what step would you,
I wouldn't want to do it anyway, because,
I'm sorry. It broke up.
okay, I said I wouldn't want to rely on that one anyway, because if the attorney screws up in reviewing the paperwork that the abstractor gave them, you guys seek satisfaction from the attorney by suing them. Good luck with that. They got no problem spending all day in court. You would have to hire an attorney now to battle an attorney, you know? Title insurance policy is probably the best proof of ownership.
Okay, so it's not all of these that are needed, it's just one of the 4.
Any one of the 4.
Got it.
And number 3 here on this list, we don't use in New Jersey anyway. We don't have a Torrens system here. Some states have Torrens systems where when you transfer the ownership of real estate, it must be recorded in the Central Hall of Records and recorded in that Central Hall of Records. That's called the Torrens system. We have 21 Central Halls of Records in New Jersey, 1 in each county, you know?
Got
But
it. Thanks.
we don't have a Torrens system. We don't require it being recorded, and there's no Central Hall of Records. There's 21 of them. Okay, everybody got these notes and highlights and whatnot? All right, back to 21 again. Back to page 21. Back to chapter 2. See, this is why if we just keep going forward with the first first 4 chapters and not talk about real estate at all, it gets really boring and kind of complicated, because I can't talk to you about rules without explaining to you what those rules are about, what they mean, because it doesn't relate. It's hard to remember and understand. So I wouldn't want to be taught that way, so I don't teach you guys that way. So when we talk about these issues that come up and they mention these certain words, I don't have OCD. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that you guys are getting the understandings and the full explanation so that with that, so we can relate. All right, so on page 21, where is this written? The following information. Okay, this is about the middle of the page. I want you to write this above that paragraph that says the following information is for reference purposes only. Okay. I want you to write any offer of a free item or gift must be genuinely free with no strings attached. And then beneath that paragraph, I want you to write, we cannot offer free appraisals. We're not licensed appraisers. We can offer free CMAs or BPOs to value properties or to determine values. This used to be in the book, this statement. You see, here's a screenshot from when it used to be in the book that they accidentally omitted it when they did this update. Advertisements that offer free appraisals are prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis, CMA, is permissible, or a BPO, broker's price opinion.
I have a question, teacher,
Yeah.
and it could be off topic, but you've said previously about what if I trip over on somebody's property and like the chain of title, right?
Well,
What if what if what if somebody bought a house with an LLC? Is that like um well, there's two questions I have. If like are we able to make transactions of real estate with somebody who has an LLC who's purchasing a four-family house?
did you buy a property in the name of an LLC? Yes. It's a way to try to mask who's the actual owner.
So we're able to.
And I could search the public records and search the state's database of who owns the LLC and find out.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, there are other ways of masking it, though, better. A lot of people just simply do it by getting a LLC, but there's ways to make sure that your name does not show up anywhere. But that's just from the general public, not the government.
What's the purpose of people putting a property under an LLC?
Somebody trips and falls on your property, they sue the owner, which is the LLC, so they can't touch your personal assets.
So basically that's recommended.
It's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Yeah, because I took another course previously last year about LLCs and about how because I also took a short course on how like military members are able to use the VA home loan and how also there are people who buy properties with an LLC.
Yeah. So listen, if you have an LLC, it gives you some protections like a corporation has. It shields the owners from it gives them, I shouldn't say shields, it gives them legal protections and certain tax advantages. Now, tax advantages for a property about that as much, but legal protection, yeah. However, what's known as the corporate veil can be pierced if you don't maintain records properly for the LLC. You have to file records on time. You got to report, you got to keep that LLC active. You need to file records and have your paperwork in order to maintain the LLC. If you do not, then it's easy for someone to take you to court and pierce the protections from that corporate veil, so to speak, because that's all it is. It's a veil put over hiding you from who's the actual owner, right? So they could cut through that veil if you're not maintaining it, in essence. All right.
Got it. Thank you.
This is getting way too complicated for what we're trying to learn right now. You guys are getting too advanced for me here. All right. So listen, this thing I just had you write in here, any offer of a free item or gift must be genuinely free with no strings attached. That's the law in New Jersey. Well, let's read what it says right underneath that about this being information purposes only, because there's been some changes in the law. In New Jersey, the Real Estate Licensing Act was revised in 2019, November 2019. The following statutory statement, which in part addresses free gifts or discounts offered by licensees, was adopted in November 2021 into the law. The amendment further provides that it will not go into effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement the revised statutory provisions. So basically, the law was always, you as a real estate agent cannot offer something to the public for free unless you offer it to everyone with no strings attached. You can't offer things for free to the public contingent upon them doing business with you. Like, you'll only get this free stuff if you do business with me. But a law was passed in 2019 and went into effect in 2021 that says that you can offer free stuff to the public with strings attached. However, that last sentence says it will not go into effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement that and how it's going to work. We're in 2025 now. They still didn't do it. So as of right now, no strings attached. You cannot offer things for free with no strings attached, meaning that's the only way you could offer things for free, with no strings attached, not contingent upon the public doing business with you to get the free stuff. Even though the law that was passed allows you to do that. That law has a stipulation that you can't do that until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules on how they want it to be implemented. And they have not done that yet. So you still can't offer things with strings attached. Okay? You can't offer somebody something like I thought I had it on the next slide. I thought it was going to be slick. That would have been so cool. All right. Anyway. Yeah, you can't offer people like a free pizza with the purchase of this house. I seen a sign rider like that. Free pizza with the purchase of this house. That's contingent upon you doing business with them. And you can't do that. All right. We also can't offer free appraisals. Well, mainly because we're not licensed appraisers, a profession that requires licensure. However, we can offer people free CMAs, a comparative market analysis, to help them learn about how much their home is worth. It's similar to an appraisal, but should not be considered one. And BPOs, we don't do those for the public. We do those for lenders who don't want to spend all the money on appraisals. But they want something done by some sort of evaluation for some reason. They could order one from us in exchange for a fee. But remember, that fee has to go through your broker, unless your broker authorized you in writing to accept that fee directly from that lender that's paying you for doing the BPO. So a question you may want to ask your brokers if you're going to do BPOs, broker price opinions, in exchange for money to make some cashosis on the side with your license there. You can make a couple $100 here and there doing BPOs. All right. So offering a free appraisal instead of saying a CMA or price analysis is not allowed. We are not licensed appraisers, so cannot offer free appraisals. We can offer a free CMA or BPO, but they should never be called appraisals and should never be considered as such. CMA is a comparative market analysis. We offer that to the public, complimentary. That's often the way I get my foot in the door to get listings. Make up a postcard, make it look like a fancy certificate, even have gold foil and use fancy textured paper on the postcard that I send. You know, you put a little money into it, you know, and you send it out. And this certificate is redeemable for one free comparative market analysis, so the home can learn how much their home is worth in today's market. Okay. People eat that up. People will hold on to that certificate and then call up to claim it so that you could value their home. In reality, we give them for free all the time. But we send it out as a certificate like that, you know, like, hey, this is a limited time offer. You get the CMA, your free market analysis. This expires by a certain date. Which then you could even give them a little more urgency to call you. You know? I had a couple one time that held on to it for a year when I tried experimenting and put an expiration date on it, and then almost a year later I got a call from a couple who still had the certificate they put in the drawer. They were like, "Yeah, we weren't ready yet." Excuse me. They said, "Yeah, we just weren't ready yet because we were doing some work around the house. Can we still claim this free CMA?" And I was like, "Well, when was it dated?" "Sure, I'll do that for you." But that's how we get our foot in the door. Because why do people contact real estate agents to find out how much their home is worth? Just for the heck of it? Or usually because they're thinking about selling. So that's your foot in the door to try to get a listing. Giving you guys some ideas here how to get a listing, you know?
How do you actually run a CMA?
You chapter
Like, are there two?
chapter 16, we'll get into that. Okay. Let me hold
Okay.
because that's a rabbit hole that you're leading me down.
Okay. I'll wait on that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
wait on that one. And I'll give you some good resources on it too. I'm going to give you a class you could take because this course is going to kind of explain the basics of it, but to really learn how to do them, your broker should give you that training. But some brokers don't even know how to price properties properly. So I'm going to give you a resource for a group of appraisers. I'll even give it to you now. Oh, I got it right here. Look at this at the bottom of the slide. OTTEAU.com. This company is owned by Jeffrey Attal or Otto, or however you pronounce it. I don't know. I'm not French or Canadian or French Canadian or whatever that name is. But that's they're actually a local New Jersey group of appraisers that create all kinds of presentations for different people in the financing industries, to governmental industries, to real estate.
I don't think you're showing what you're looking at.
You're looking at the free appraisals slide, right?
Yes,
That's what we're looking at. You see down here at the bottom,
I was
Auto
looking.
EAU?
Oh, okay, I was looking at.
Yeah. So this is a class that you could take to learn how to do CMAs, how to do the valuation of properties. That's taught to you by actual appraisers. Who do you think is going to teach you how to do the job better, an appraiser or your broker? Probably the appraiser. So they'll teach you how to accurately value properties, how they do it. And it's less than $100, so why wouldn't you? It's also tax deductible. It's a business expense, isn't it? Mhm. Okay. So everybody got this from the slide? You want this link? Should I share this link with you? Here. I'll even show the link to you. Okay, so this is the Iowa Group site. They have events and workshops, private events, workshop, midsummer forecast. Okay, yeah, midsummer forecast is coming up. They have these quarterly forecasts, usually telling you what to expect in the changes in the real estate market, specifically here in New Jersey, and why. And they give supporting evidence to their claims of if the real estate market's going to be heating up or cooling off in certain areas of the state and why. So signing up for their market track gives you discounts for these classes, and you also get regular updates on their website. Yeah, look, let me log in because I got to log in for this. Let me log in. I'm logged in. Okay, boom, boom, boom. So I get access to these market track subscriptions, access to their market track here. In the housing track, you could see for different counties, for each county, for each month, this is updated. You could get reports about what's going on in different counties. This one's for Union County. Is this Union? Yeah, Union County, New Jersey. Like they give you market updates with explanations. They dive deep into the financials and the sales and the news, and they really get technical with this stuff. And a lot of this data, then you could then put in your own words, and then the copyrights information there, but you could put it in your own words and such, and now create your own valuation as the real estate expert there on your websites, on your blogs. Look at this. And then they have the breakdown here, an explanation of all the data that you just saw up above. They give you the breakdown of what that means.
But I just wanted to ask, but we are supposed to always direct the client to a appraiser also to get a proper, correct, idea of the like.
No, you could help them value their property. That's your job when you go list a property for sale. I know appraisers are more accurate, so shouldn't you just direct them to buy an appraisal for their property? So when the property for sale, they get to have an accurate pricing on it. I have not yet met a seller yet who wanted to pay for that.
Right. But when we are a buyer, then to suppose, they are quoting high price, and if we go to appraisal, we get the accurate range.
You're the one that helps them value the property. So this is a skill you're gonna sharpen up on over time. And then when we're presenting valuations to sellers when we're listing properties, sometimes it's like banging your head against the wall trying to justify the value of the property. They got an idea in their head how much they want to sell their home for, how much they think it's worth. And then you're showing them evidence based on the recent sales of similar homes, similar in size, style, amenity, location, age, condition, and you make adjustments for any differences. And you put all that work into this report, And then you show them how much their home is worth, and they're like, well, I still want a gazillion dollars more than that. You know, it's like sometimes you're like talking to a wall, you know, but that's one of the struggles of this business is trying to pound common sense into people. I just want to try selling it a little higher to see if I'll get more for it, you know, just for a little while. Well, you do realize that the first couple of weeks that the home's on the market, it gets the most attention. And if you try it at an inflated, bloated price for that while, people are going to come by and be like, they're crazy, and they're going to be gone, and they may not come back. And if they do come back, they're going to be like, oh, wow, that house is still on the market. Wonder what's wrong with it. Maybe we can lowball it. You know, so the person's never going to get what they want. Usually the first price reduction is more than the entire commission that we charge them. It's funny, they'll argue with us till they're blue in the face to pay 1% less in commission, but their first price reduction is greater than our entire commission that we charge. It's kind of comical, actually. I mean, you can't laugh in their face, but it is kind of comical because you're thinking about what actually is happening and going on, and they're oblivious to it. So, but anyway, you got also the market news. They give you news of they've got their reports and articles. I want to keep opening these and showing these because these things are copyrighted, so I don't want to get in trouble for that. And then you have Ask Jeff. He's the owner of the company. I could reach out to him and ask him a real estate question if I got a question about a tough appraisal, a tough CMA that I'm having trouble valuing. I could try reaching out to him, and he'll help guide me through it, help me value it.
Don't you need an appraisal when you're buying a property? Doesn't the bank need it?
That's up to the lender. Yes, lenders usually require an appraisal. They will send out the appraiser, though. They will select an appraiser from a list of licensed appraisers.
Right.
Not an appraiser that you selected and hired because they may be your friend for all they know. They want an unbiased estimate and opinion of value. So they're going to randomly select, the lender randomly selects a licensed appraiser to go out to your house and do the appraisal. You are going to pay that appraiser as the buyer.
Right. And that's the way they determine how much of a loan they'll actually give you based on does the appraiser actually go into the home or they just assess? They
No.
do?
Go into the home. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They see the condition of it because everything there.
Oh, yeah. Room sizes, layouts, number of rooms, types of rooms, condition. You know, there's a lot of things that they look for, features, amenities, you know, a lot of things they look for when valuing homes.
What's the main value that they're looking for that will value up your home, let's say? Let's say your interiors are not in great condition.
Well, still, if you got good bones, square footage of the house, kitchens. Now, desirability would be bathrooms, but that don't confuse desirability with value.
I get it.
It contributes, but it's more of a desirability thing, like swimming pools. Not everybody wants one. Is it going to make your house worth more? Yes. But not everybody wants one. Is it? But it'll definitely make your house more desirable to those who do want one. Are you going to get all your money back for that improvement for putting in a swimming pool, though, an in-ground pool? Probably not. But it makes your house worth more, and it makes it more desirable to those who want a swimming pool. I've had arguments with people in class. They're like, "Yeah, but some people don't want a swimming pool because it could be a danger, a hazard. Your taxes are going to go up because and I say, wait, stop. Why would your taxes go up? Well, because it increases the value. Ah, there you go.
Insurance will go up.
That was my next thing. No, well, your insurance is going to go up. Okay, well, it sounds like this house is not for you then. It sounds like you want a house with a swimming pool. So this house is not for you. But people who do have a swimming pool are definitely willing to pay a little bit more for a house with one. Right? So the getting into, it's not worth getting into an argument with people over it because it's just a feature. And some people like certain features, some people don't, you know. That's why we shop for houses and we look at several. All right, so anyway, this is a great class to take. I make no money off of this by pushing this guy, but check them out. Look at their client list. Look at their client list here on their website. They performed appraisals and consulting services for Fortune 500 companies. You recognize any of these names there? Well, it looks like they shortened the list here a little bit.
I recognize Merck.
What about Exxon, Eli Lilly, General Motors, John, Prudential Insurance Company, Raychem, Time Warner, Westinghouse, Alcoa, Amco, Abbott, Bristol Myers Squibb, Kodak. You know, these are some huge companies. EI DuPont. Financial institutions that they've worked with and consulted for. Recognize any of these famous names? Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, I see my company name.
You may see Magyar. Well, what, the one you work for? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Barclays Bank.
Right there. Or they've consulted with.
They should give this report access free to at least general people. They have big companies, big things. They're making big money.
For these different companies, they do different reports. They do customized reports.
Yes.
What they're for. Like my brother, he used to work for ADP, and he did like my brother does like retirement planning and what to invest in for these groups, and he creates these packages. He's worked for Prudential, he's worked for ADP and other companies like that. And basically, our group will do some forecasting for the markets for them, and they justify it with data, because a lot of people may invest in real estate, but it's not just for the real estate that they do. It's the real estate, but it's also a lot of the information they gather for the real estate business has to deal with jobs. People moving from one area to another, businesses coming up in different places and how they could affect politics, local and national issues. They put all these different data sources and information together into a story according to your issue, whether it's real estate or investments or whatever it is. And they do, obviously, these companies see value in this Ottawa group and what they do because they pay them a hell of a lot of money for doing these presentations and reports for them. Siemens. Oh, I used to work for them doing IT years ago. Government. Governments even pay them. Look at this.
Yeah.
Municipalities. Look, even my city, Linden. NJ Transit, natural gas. They also act as expert witnesses in court for some of these people probably too. Here's some law firms that have hired them to be expert witnesses for their information and knowledge. Healthcare. They need to add another category here now because they consulted on that Netflix buying that property in New Jersey to move those studios here. we're seeing a lot of Hollywood moving over to New Jersey now. You know, Hollywood, New York did a lot of filming, but New Jersey is coming back. New Jersey always did have a little bit of filming that went on here, but now it's starting to really ramp up to be a film industry place.
What areas are they going to?
We can be actors.
What's that?
We can be actors too.
I,
Mhm.
Recently, they are doing shooting onto the Rutgers University.
they, well, military bases in New Jersey and Coast Guard stations, that they, from, the current governor, he sold it maybe 3 years ago, to Netflix. I see one of my old students actually put a video on YouTube about it, New Jersey becoming the movie, place, to be. Let me see, google.com, and we'll see, New Jersey Netflix Studio. Breaking ground on Netflix Studios in Fort Monmouth. 292-acre former U.S. Army installation info, a premier East Coast production hub. So it's called Netflix Fort Monmouth Studio in Oceanport, New Jersey. Then you watch little videos that people put up here about that, breaking the ground and doing all that stuff. Let me see. See that? The old military base, this is that property that they're turning into studios. So they broke ground on it. Anyway. So that's the Ottawa group there. It's definitely worth taking their class, and I would even sign up for their market forecast thing. You pay $100 for that, and then you get discounts for any classes that you take. You get invites to special unpublished events, and training. They give you those regular market updates that you could download, like I was showing you guys. It's pretty good information. They keep you up on the news. You can also subscribe to their Facebook web page, and you could get some updates and news right there because they publish it on their Facebook page for free as well. All right, so advertising rules. Any advertisement that refers to a home warranty. Okay, so let's continue highlighting that there. That's page 21. That was the third paragraph. You guys already had that, right? And then beneath it, you highlighted this and you wrote the Regulation Z stuff. Then you did the no advertising or sign may indicate a property is sold. And then we just went over offering anything for free to the public must be genuinely free with no strings attached. But a law was implemented that allows you to offer things for free contingent upon the public doing business with you, but only after the Real Estate Commission puts rules in place for that, which they have not yet done. And we help people value properties by doing CMAs. And we usually do that complimentary for free. That's our foot in the door to try to get listings. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when we're taking the test, if we get like a question on that, we should answer that we can't accept free.
Strings attached. Yep.
Okay, it wouldn't have like they wouldn't question it in like a confusing way, like regarding the fact that there's the law passed.
No, because it's not implemented yet.
Okay, thank you.
The Real Estate Commission never put the rules in.
Can you go back to the slide, the previous one, real quick?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's page 21. You got all those highlights in the notes already? I showed individual slides with these were just this section and then just this paragraph and then just this paragraph and then this.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check that I had everything.
Tangent there. Yeah. I went off on a tangent and explained each one of these things in detail.
Got it.
So you got all,
Thank you.
you get, okay. Right now, 4515, that's the Licensing Act. It says no real estate broker or salesperson shall accept a commission or valuable consideration for the performance of any acts from any person other than their employing broker, right? And then B, under B here, this is the important part. A real estate salesperson or broker salesperson, this is another recent change in the law, allows you to create an LLC. Because I get people in classes for years, every now and then I get somebody who takes investment classes here and there or something. They're like, can I get my broker to pay my LLC instead of paying me directly? They write my commission check to the LLC. And I was like, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but okay, it's just you're going to get taxed through the LLC. LLCs get taxed at higher rates unless you got it filing as an S corp. But okay, whatever. But there's also so basically there's a law passed now that allows you to do that. However, not until the real estate commission implements the system where they can link you to your LLC and it not being a real estate brokerage, so I'm not sure if that's in full effect yet. You'd have to contact the real estate commission and just be known to this that in here, I'm not reading all of this stuff, but if you want, you can right now. In here, it basically says that actually, I don't know if it even says it in here, but I'm going to give you the explanation of it. That you can get paid in the name of an LLC that you are the owner of, if you want to do that for whatever reason. Just be known that you have to pay for your real estate license when it comes up for renewal as well. You have to pay for your license and its renewal. But if you want to get paid in the name of an LLC, it needs to be a licensed entity as well. So now you're going to have to pay for an LLC to be licensed. I think LLC licensing is $200. and you'd need to renew that every 2 years as well. So you'd be spending $100 on your renewal of your personal real estate license plus $200 for the LLC. That's $300. I believe it's $200 for the LLC. You could look at the commission's pricing guides, but for things, but I believe that that's the correct numbers there. But so you're going to be paying for your license and your LLC's license, but your LLC cannot operate independently of your broker. It's just a way to get paid. It's not a brokerage. You follow?
Yep.
All right. So another update in the New Jersey Licensing Act is you cannot use a lottery or games of chance to sell real estate in New Jersey. Anything you offer for free to the public must be genuinely free, no strings attached, not contingent upon doing business with that broker. However, new laws allow offering free items with strings attached, but only after the rec creates rules indicating on how to do so, which they have not done yet. And that's what I've already explained to you on the previous slides there. We just got them right here with the explanation that I verbally tell you guys. Let me copy that and put that in our class links Word document. Okay, so okay. Get us to updating of our notes. So, if we were to read this, you can't use any plan, scheme, or method for the sale or promotion of real estate, which involves a lottery contest, game, a prize, drawing, or offering a parcel of real estate. Yeah, we're the nanny state. The gaming commission may have an issue with that, right? If a broker participates in a promotion or offering of a free discounted item or service or products, which confers upon a receipt of a monetary benefit greater than $1,000, the broker shall provide written disclosure of the benefits to the recipient and any information concerning the promotion or benefit as may be required by the Real Estate Commission. A broker shall disclose in writing any compensation received for these promotions in the offer in the form of a substance as required by the Federal Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act of 1974, except notwithstanding the provisions of the Act. The Commission regulations supplement the New Jersey law against discrimination by specifying that no licensee may advertise or in any way express a discriminatory limitation or preference. In case you didn't know, you cannot advertise in a discriminatory way. Okay. Highlight any advertisement that mentions a specific commission rate or amount must also state that in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable. And that statement just shows that you're in compliance and not engaging in illegal price fixing activities, which is illegal according to rec rules and the Sherman Antitrust Act. What is price fixing?
When you set like a flat fee?
No. Anybody else?
Multiple broker, it's fixing the price for some property.
Can you clarify that a little bit?
Actually, one place we're discussing about the broker percentage. So if the multiple brokerage agencies is just discussing together that we cannot accept a brokerage less than 2% or 3% or 5%.
Okay.
The price fixing.
Right. So let me explain it in a simpler, dumbed down way. Okay. It's when agents from different brokerages, from competing firms, are discussing with each other the fees they charge the public for the services they perform, trying to set an industry standard.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what that is. And that's illegal because it's anti-competition.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, it's anti-competition. All right. So once again, here's all the disclosures about FSBOs and price fixing. And how many times have we seen this slide already? You got to give that disclosure on your in your contracts when you offer when you put an offer on a for sale by any property, you have to disclose that you do not engage in an illegal practice called price fixing. So you state that all commissions are negotiable. You also state that as a seller, you have the right to individually reach an agreement on any fee, commission, or other valuable consideration with any broker. No fee, commission, or other consideration has been fixed by any governmental authority, trade association, or multiple listing service. What is consideration? They say no fee, commission, or other consideration. What is consideration? Anybody know? Consideration is giving anything of value. It could be a service that you're performing. I'll do a brake job on your car if you do something for me, or if you give me something in exchange. Give me a bicycle, give me your bicycle and I'll do a brake job on your car. That's a form of consideration. It's something of value that is given in exchange. Just want to go. So Bizbo's price fixing. Huh? Hmm. Okay. So to continue talking about signs, they were talking about signage before. Here are some placards and signs. Social media is where a lot of people get their news from these days, and social media, especially with AI out there. You can't believe everything that you see online and on the internet, right? Um, there's a lot of news out there, and a lot of people who always got chips on their shoulders and always claiming everything is in the world is racist, and they play the victim card all the time. So there was this thing that was going around that I seen online where people were showing that when there's a spray painted box or with an X through it or a sign like this, property, they were claiming it's always in minority neighborhoods and it's racist. They're just marking the areas as because they're being racist somehow. Those people are complete idiots. Let's establish that. Because what these placards are, they're safety placards issued by OSHA. So on December 3rd, December 1999, 6 firefighters died fighting inside an abandoned 6th-floor warehouse. The firefighters had entered the structure and became disoriented and unable to escape this maze-like interior before there were multiple collapses in the building. Following this disaster, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health recommended that fire departments should identify dangerous vacant buildings by affixing warning placards to entrance doorways and other openings where firefighters may enter. You guys may even see this on TV where they had these flooding, where you see floods, and you can even see some of these things spray painted on cars that are upside down or something, right? It means that somebody checked the vehicle and it's vacant. Don't go in it. So if it's just a box, it shows that the building is vacant. It's normal conditions and no threat to inspect it. If it's got one line going through it, they show you interior firefighting and rescue operations should be conducted with caution due to structural issues, maybe. And if it's got an X through it, it means it's a vacant building. You should only do the firefighting from the exterior unless it's an extreme situation to protect life, but enter at your own risk because there are dangerous, hazardous conditions in that building. That's what that means. In all 3 situations, it means the building is vacant, though. And you may even get a version of it that looks like this. It's got the X and it's got some writing on it. You guys seen that with like some of the hurricanes where houses were underwater and people went into the attics and they had to cut holes in the roof to get people out. Then they spray painted on the roof an X like this, a box and an X. Here's some examples. I wonder why they got that sign. And this one is not a box with any X or anything, but it is another one of those danger signs that if you see something like this, you are forbidden from entering this building. Look at this. No individual is to occupy this building until the structure is rendered safe and secure. It's unsafe for human occupancy. We'll get into this one in a different chapter. There's a video I'll show you where there was a death of children involved here because of carbon monoxide poisoning. And then we got that, just the plain X, the box without any X or lines through it. Ever see this one? This you may find on schools or other large public buildings when they have fallout shelters, maybe in a basement. This is for nuclear endanger. This became popular in the 60s for properties that have areas that could be emergency shelters in the event of nuclear war. So, you know, they get discounts on taxes and such for having a space that's available like that. But you got to put a sign there that's a fallout shelter. You see signs like this on tractor trailers, but you could see them on fences and on buildings as well. Just so that you have an idea of what it is. You don't need to memorize what this stuff is, but just to get an idea. What do these mean with the box with a square with 4 squares inside of it with numbers or maybe letters, and they're color coded? Well, the square is divided into 4 sections. They're color coded. Red means it's flammable. Blue means there's a health hazard. Yellow means it's reactive, it's unstable. White means there's a special hazard such as oxidizers or a water reactive or asphyxiating gases involved. So the red, yellow, and blue sections are labeled on a scale of 0 to 4, 4 being the most dangerous and severe. Let's see, and the white box would have a letter in it denoting what is the hazard. OX, an oxidizer, SA, I guess that's special hazard, and W, maybe a water reactive thing that if it comes in touch with water, it becomes explosive perhaps, or gaseous. So be cautious around when you see these signs. All right, now to continue with our lesson for the things that we need to know for exam. Commission rebates. Only the residents can receive a rebate, not sellers. Rebates must be a direct reduction of the commission due to the agency. A rebate can only be offered as a credit in the form of a credit or check at closing. It must be in writing from the start of the business relationship that a rebate is being offered, including how much the rebate will be, if your broker allows offering rebates. All parties must be aware that a rebate is being offered, and lenders can forbid offering rebates due to factors like the type of loan may have restrictions. Where is this? Like the type of loan may have restrictions that wouldn't allow it to be offered, wouldn't allow the rebate. A rebate to be offered. So here's a little tip if you're offering rebates. Only inform all the parties after the offer has been accepted and it goes to attorney review. And then notify the attorneys to add it into the attorney review that a rebate's being offered. This way, nobody's going to try renegotiating the agreed upon purchase price. A seller may want more money for their house if they're told that the the buyer's agent is offering a rebate to the buyer, then they want more money because they can afford a little bit more now because their agent is giving them a rebate. So that's just a little tip I give you. So rebates cannot be dependent on a lottery, contest, game, or drawing. A licensee can only offer a rebate if their broker allows it as part of the services. You know, not all brokers allow buyer rebates. So if you want to offer buyer rebates, that's something you should ask your brokers at the interviews. Advertisements offering rebates must advise a buyer to consult with a tax professional about the consequences of receiving the rebate.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why would they offer rebates? Because doesn't that mean they're basically losing their commission?
You're reducing it.
So why would you want to reduce your commission as a broker?
You ever go to an open house?
No.
An open, somebody comes in there off the street to look at a property. They don't know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms or anything. They just see the outside of it. So at an open house, people come in there and there's a sign-in sheet. They need to sign in. I've had people come to open houses and I've looked at the sign-in sheets later. I told them to sign in. I looked at the sign-in sheets later and I discovered that I had celebrities at my open house. Apparently, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse were attended my open house. So, I mean, are these people legitimate buyers? Or are people just going through maybe looky-loos or what have you? So maybe to try to convince them to give me their legitimate information and to actually want to work with me, whether they're interested in purchasing this house that I am hosting an open house for or another property, I'll have a conversation with them. I'm going to ask them, are you currently working with another agent, which is something they're supposed to be putting on a sign-in sheet anyway, right? I'm going to ask them, are they currently working with another agent? And if not, I will suggest to them that they can work with me. I'll be happy to work with them. Now, this open house, I'm currently representing the seller, but I could represent you as well. In those cases, I'd be a disclosed dual agent for this property. But I could show you any property that's out there on the market, even listed with other agencies. Wouldn't you find that useful, that you didn't have to go trying to track down the listing agents all the time? You got one point of contact. I'll learn about what your interests are, what specifically you're looking for in a house, and I could better help you and service you. I could show you any property, get you any information. You don't have to be walking into open houses off the street, hoping, not knowing how much they're asking for this house or what it looks like on the inside before you step in, That's a waste of a whole lot of time, unless you just like to do that for the fun of it because you've got extra time on your hands. I don't know. I could save you a lot of time by doing the research for you and then setting up appointments to show you houses that meet your criteria, your price range, and all that other good stuff. And by the way, if you buy your home through me, I'm going to offer you a rebate sharing up to 25% of my commission with you. Am I bribing you? Absolutely, I am. But it's legal. Hey, it's better than you signing your wrong name or putting a wrong phone number or email or contact information on that signing sheet. I can be pretty certain you're going to give me the right info and that you're going to want to work with me, because what other agent's offering to give you money to buy a house through them? Right? Does it make sense now to offer it in certain situations?
Yeah, I could see how that would work. Okay, thank you.
But you cannot do that if your broker doesn't allow it. So when you're interviewing brokers, you may want to ask them, do you allow your agents to offer buyer rebates?
Is it common?
Huh?
Is it common?
Not so much. I mean, some agents do it and some agents started to adopt it a little bit, but most agents don't. They want to keep their commissions. Hard enough to get their commissions already, you know?
Yeah.
So especially now that you get some sellers that don't even want to pay commissions now because of that NAR lawsuit, they say, well, the buyer can pay their own commission. So now what, the buyer is going to pay you a commission and then you're going to offer a rebate back to them? You know, it doesn't make much sense it makes it harder to do. It's better when a seller's paying the commission for you to offer a rebate to the buyer. You know, so you really have to award your rebate contracts on how you want them to work, you know. But yeah, I offer them. I offer buyer rebates, absolutely. Would you take a referral from another agent who's referring to you either a buyer or a seller as a client? Would you take a referral from an agent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you know, when you're taking a referral, you're usually agreeing to pay at least a 25% referral fee to them.
Yeah.
Right? So
Mhm.
what's the difference? Right? What's the difference?
Yeah,
That's
I could.
That's the way I look at it anyway.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody got this?
Yeah, like I'm just looking at like a local ad actually from a thing and it says like mention like specific realtor's name to get 20,000 towards your closing cost. Take advantage of low interest rates. What does that mean?
Is that a mortgage rep or is that a real estate agent?
Real estate agent.
20,000 towards your closing costs.
Yeah, like where's that money coming from?
How's it worded? Up to 20,000?
No, to get 20K towards your closing costs. Take advantage. I don't know.
That sounds like a little bit of a sketchy situation there. That's not a rebate, by the way,
What is it?
towards your closing cost, because the rebate comes out of it's a direct reduction of my commission before it's paid to my brokerage. So both me and my broker are splitting that money that's getting paid out as a rebate to the buyer from the proceeds of our commission before we get our commission. But it's done at the closing table, you know. Offering $20,000, is my commission even going to be $20,000? Is the total commission even going to be that much? You know, this leads me to believe that it is some sort of lending program that may have self-liquidating closing cost loans attached to it. You know, like there's a loan from the NJHMFA, New Jersey Housing Mortgage and Finance Agency, that offers up to $22,000 actually towards closing costs. And you do not need to pay any of that money back if you live in that house for at least 5 years. Okay, and you get a specific loan. So it's probably some kind of a conditioned loan like that. But they should be clearer in that, especially when offering financing. Now, but they're not technically offering financing in there. Well, actually they are, because they mentioned $20,000, getting $20,000 back, right? Is that offering financing though? Because they're offering you 20,000, not you paying 20,000. That's a sketchy write-up right there that they wrote it. That's sketchy. Where are you seeing that?
I've just seen it around.
But it's also sometimes for areas that people probably would not otherwise go, so they give rebates so that, you know, they get people to live there. Because good areas, you know, they don't really try much to sell by itself.
You see, I know New York has programs like this where in the rundown areas of town, they'll even offer you a free property, free for like $5,000. You know, you could buy a lot, and the city will sell you a lot, but it's probably in a rundown area. And
Yeah.
it has a stipulation that you need to build a house there within a certain time period. You know, there's all kinds of weird offers that are out there. So I'm not sure exactly what this one is. I would need more information to analyze that, but that's not a rebate. I don't know what that is. Sounds like it's some kind of a financing. It's tied to the financing somehow. We're talking specifically about real estate agents offering a direct reduction of their commission. See, you need to have it in writing from the onset of your relationship with working with a buyer that you're offering them a rebate, how much the rebate's going to be, and to tell them to consult with a tax professional in regards of receiving this rebate.
I think generally this rebate is working very well when we have a new constructions and builder is giving rebate, because I purchased one house in Virginia and I was simply visited there, and there I was filled all the form and they said, do you have realtor?
Yeah.
I said no, and then he said, okay, if you put the realtor name, then you will get this much 3% discount rebate. You will get 3% rebate because that realtor is getting 4% from the builder, so he's giving 3% to the buyer. So that's I got from there.
Well, that's probably not a discount from the that's not a rebate from the real estate agent. That's a discount from the builder.
No. It's not from the builder. I get rebate from the broker, from the realtors. Because I put his name, that's yes, my realtor is this one. This guy is my realtor. So when I put his name on this is a realtor, then I get, if I'm not putting his name as a realtor, then I'm not getting any discount from the builder.
That's really strange. The other thing that's really strange about that is you said they're getting 3%, 4% commission or 3%?
They said they have the 4%. So realtor said, I will keep 1%. I will give you 3% rebate back.
That's weird. The weird part is how much the builder is offering. Builders usually don't pay real estate agents more than 2% commission on new construction.
I got 3%. I had those days.
It's probably a scheme that they have worked out with that builder.
Yeah. It's not on New Jersey. It's on Virginia.
Yeah. Well, by the way, it's probably a scheme that they have worked out with the builder to do that. You know.
Yeah. Because I went there with my friend, so I didn't. Then he told me that okay, you have to put his name also as a realtor.
Yeah.
So when I put his name as a realtor, then I get back 3%.
Yeah. Because you're getting the rebate from them. So,
Yeah.
but the builder is offering a lot more commission than they normally do. All right. So that's the commission rebates. Everybody got those highlights, right?
Yep.
Okay. So an agreement between competing offices to establish standard commission rates is forbidden, not only by the federal government, but also by the real estate commission. What are they talking about there? Price fixing.
Price fixing.
Now, they didn't specifically say that there, but that's what they're explaining. So the Real Estate Commission makes it illegal as well, but so does the Sherman Antitrust Act, right? It's an agreement between competing firms to establish industry standards on commission rates charged to the public. It's prohibited by federal and state laws and by the Real Estate Commission. The Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits price fixing, allocation of markets, and bid rigging in auctions. There's another law that deals with bid rigging too. But... So I spoke about this yesterday to you guys about discriminatory commission splits and explaining what it was. Remember where you had that company Foxtons? Yeah, I usually don't mention company names, but Foxtons I will because they're defunct, they're out of business, they do not operate in the United States anymore. So they filed bankruptcy, they shut down, they're no longer in existence. So I could talk about it. this was stemming from their situation where one brokerage charges 6% commission to list a property and then offers a 50% of that as a split to share with the agency that brings in the buyer. So 3%. But the other agency charges 3% as a total commission and splits its commission offering 50%, which ends up being 1.5% commission to the agency that brings in the buyer. They're offering the same 50% split. So offering them 1.5% because that's all they're giving you, that would not be a 50-50 split if you're collecting 6%. So that is known as a discriminatory commission split. And the Real Estate Commission has an advisory notice here about that. Okay. Nothing on exam about this. This is just for practice, just so you guys are aware you can't do things like that. If you're going to offer reciprocal commissions, they have to be truly reciprocal based on the total commission. You're going to offer, if you collect 6%, you offer 50%, that's 3%. If you collect 3%, you offer 50%, that's 1.5%. You can't.
Yeah, this looks like a contract business in the IT. Main contractor, then subcontractor. The company is paying $100 and the employee is getting only $40. $60 is going to first, second, third layer commission.
Well, this is at the top layer still. So if you have one company that's charging 6% and they're offering a 3% split to the agency that brings in a buyer, that's fine because you're offering 50%.
Yes.
But if you're going to offer one company who usually collects a total of 3% that only offers 1.5%, so in exchange you offer them 1.5%, that's discriminatory because you're offering way less of your total that you're collecting than they are. Yeah. That's what that is. Okay.
The actual who brought the buyer, he is getting only 1.5%.
Yeah. The buyer's agency. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's before you're split with your broker.
Yes.
All right. It's actually after noon already, so we're going to take our lunch now. Let me pause. So penalties for violating licensing law. So all the rules and regulations that we learned about to date, what happens if you violate them? Well, they could put your license on, they could affect your license. Okay. Now, people can file complaints or the Real Estate Commission can investigate on its own to discover when people are violating the laws and the rules. So it could affect your license. They could place your license on probation. They could suspend your license or they could revoke it. I like the way that they define a word with the word itself. Look at that. All right. In addition to those fines, they could
Victor, here I have one question.
Yeah.
The couple of sample question I was doing, and it was it's a fine regarding the same thing, violation of the advertising law. How much do you will fine? An answer was 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. There were no option for 5,000 or 10,000.
Okay, let me finish.
First offense.
Let me
First
finish
offense.
your answer. In addition, fines range from up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for a subsequent offense.
Yeah.
So they could give you a question, they could have an answer option that's less than 5,000, and that would be right. It's 0 to up to $5,000 for a first offense, up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. Okay, so within three violations, a license will likely be revoked. Well, it depends on what it is, though. So the New Jersey Real Estate Commission reserves the right to permanently revoke a real estate license on a first offense, depending on what it was for, how severe it was, you know?
Mhm.
So I have these things highlighted. And note that a person filing charges is known as the complainant, while the person being investigated is known as the respondent. So here's a slide for you that shows you the penalties for violating licensing law. And I get into it just a little bit more. Second here. Okay, so what can happen to your license if you violate licensing law? They can put your license on probation. That's the least severe discipline. It's a stern warning and close observation by the licensing authority. They're going to keep an eye on you. Then you have suspension, which is a temporary lifting of the license in which time you cannot work. And then you have revocation, which is where they take your license away. It could be for a period of time, or it can be for life. Now, what's the difference between suspension and revocation? Well, when they revoke the license, even if it's for a temporary period of time, it seems very similar to suspension, right? You can't work within a short period of time. But the thing is, if they revoke the license, they can knock it down too. So, like for instance, if you had a broker salesperson's license and they revoked your license temporarily, when you get it back, you don't get back necessarily a broker salesperson license. They can give you back a salesperson license. You know, so there could be more ramifications on this revocation process rather than just a suspension. Now, fines can also be issued. So, in addition to or separate, fines are up to $5,000 for a first violation, like I said, and up to, you see how I got it in bold and underlined here, and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. Now, if it is for timeshare violations, their fines go under, and their disciplinary actions go under a different law. So timeshare violations have a minimum fine of $250,000 with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. That's for out-of-state subdivided lands and timeshare sales, which fall under 4515-16.5 and 4515-16.79 of the licensing New Jersey statutes. So fines are turned over to the state treasurer. Now, is there a process to this, or do they just take sanctions against your license and fine you? Or is there a process? Is there a procedure? Well, there is. The Real Estate Commission will send you a 10-day advance notice to attend a hearing in Trenton. If you are not happy with the results, they could be appealed to the New Jersey Superior Court. And a broker can be disciplined if they had guilty knowledge. So what is guilty knowledge? We're going to learn about. We'll have a definition on the next slide for that, or one of the coming slides. Guilty knowledge, in essence, is basically when the broker was aware that one of their licensed agents or unlicensed assistants was doing something wrong, and they did nothing to stop or prevent those activities. They could be held just as liable as the person who was doing whatever was wrong. Now, it's not enough for a broker, because if you just leave it at that, the broker can say, well, I didn't know. Okay, well, you're off the hook. No, you're not. a broker can't just say, well, I didn't know as a response to, I didn't have knowledge. I didn't have guilty knowledge. I didn't know. Because the real estate commission can pose the question, yeah, but should you have known? An example I would give with that is I know of a real estate brokerage where they have something like 200 licenses affiliated with their office. Now, the majority of those people, they're not coming in and doing work. They're just hanging their license, and who knows what they're doing because they're not in the office most of the time, or even stopping in or checking in with the broker. And if the broker has so many licensees out there affiliated with their office, and they're not checking in, they're not coming to meetings, the broker doesn't really know what they're doing. If the broker can't keep tabs on all of these people, you know, that could be a problem for them, because this is an instance where that I'm giving you an example where an agent did something wrong, and then the real estate commission also fined their broker for having guilty knowledge. And the broker said, well, how can you say guilty knowledge? I have no idea what the heck they were doing. I got 200 licenses here hanging here. How am I supposed to keep track of what they're all doing? The real estate commission's response was, well, then why do you have 200 licenses if that's more than what you can handle? You know, that's not our problem. We don't put a restriction into place on how many people you can hire. But if you can't handle managing that many people, don't hire that many people. That's your problem, not ours. So the real estate commission said, it's not that you had direct knowledge, maybe you didn't have that guilty knowledge, but should you have had knowledge is the question. So they fined the broker because they just said, well, I didn't know as a response. And the real estate commission said, yeah, but you should have. So that's why he got the fine. So it's a big responsibility to be a broker. And you have to know, don't take on too many licenses for licensees if you don't know what the heck they're doing. All right. Now, licensees must notify the real estate commission within 30 days of any conviction or indictment or being charged with a crime. Repeat offenders with 3 or more violations may have their licenses revoked for life. And serious offenses may result in the suspension of a license until a case is resolved. You are innocent until proven guilty in the United States. However, your real estate license is given to you on a conditional basis, and the real estate commission reserves certain rights, like to suspend your license if you're charged with a very serious crime, like rape, murder, kidnapping, things of that nature. They could temporarily suspend your license until there's an outcome to the case, because if they didn't do so, they would be complicit in allowing you to still have access to lock boxes and keys to get into people's houses and commit these crimes again. So they would suspend your license until there's an outcome to the case and then take it from there. And here's a link down at the bottom to the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page, where I get a lot of those screenshots that I show you guys all the time. If you want, I can share that link with you right now in the chat window, which I will. Boom, boom, boom. So you need to know these things for exams. Least severe, the next, and the next. So probation, suspension, then revocation. From least severe to most severe disciplinary actions that they could take against your license. And then the fines. You need to know the fines of up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. So let me ask you a question. if you had a transaction that had 5 violations in it, how much can the real estate commission fine you?
Up to 10
Five violations. Simply,
violations.
You had 5 violations in one transaction. How much can the real estate commission fine you?
it's considered one violation because on the one contract has 5 violations. It's considered first.
Well, you could have multiple violations in one transaction, and that would not be you would have a first. And it would work like this. For that first, you'd have up to $5,000 fine. And for each subsequent one, it would be $10,000. So they could fine you for a maximum of $45,000 for that one transaction that had 5 violations in it. You see how it works?
Mm-hmm.
So look, I wrote for you here. The fines for New Jersey real estate licensees are most commonly found in New Jersey statutes 4515-17 and are not more than $5,000 for a first violation, but they're up to. So they could fine you $50 just to give you a little, make it sting a little bit and give you a warning, you know? They don't have to take actions on your license and give you huge fines. For something that's, you're a new agent, you did something wrong, you forgot to have the CIS form at the open house or something. They don't need to make a big case about it, but they could just give you a warning and slap you with a $50 fine to make it sting a little bit, you know? It doesn't have to be up to $5,000, but they could fine you up to $5,000 for a first penalty, and not more than $10,000 for each subsequent violation. Each violation is treated as a separate offense. So you were thinking that because it was one transaction that it could be considered a first offense. That's not the way that it works. It's each violation is treated separately as its own offense. So you could have multiple offenses per transaction. Okay. So actually, let me get a screenshot of that and put that in the slideshow. Okay. So let's highlight these things now. The commission must provide at least 10 days advance notice of a hearing. When a salesperson is disciplined, the broker's license may or may not be affected, but depending on whether the broker had guilty knowledge. In other words, they knew what was going on and did not attempt to stop it. Now, what happens to your license if your broker's license is suspended or revoked? That's a separate question altogether right here. When a broker's license is suspended or revoked, their salesperson's licenses are suspended until the end of the current licensing period. During that time, salespeople are free to affiliate with another broker or can obtain a reissued license at no charge. I got a little better explanation on the next slide. Now, the commission, then they say the commission can promptly revoke the license of anyone convicted of certain crimes. This is what we just went over on the previous slide, so just highlight all this stuff. And when you got it, let me know. Change the slide. We'll move on to the next one to talk about that. What happens to your license if your broker's license is suspended or revoked? Everybody got it? If you guys, when you're done highlighting, if you guys can, and taking your notes, if you could just take your your mics, activate
Oh,
your,
yeah, highlighted then.
because this takes up a lot of time, me asking everybody, trying to pry it out of you if you're done, where I could just move
Highlighted then.
on, okay? All right,
Got
thanks. Okay, so guilty knowledge is when the broker is aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong and makes no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. See, this is the definition that I usually give, the way I speak it and explain it to you. The broker can be held just as liable as the agent who did whatever was wrong. Now, what happens to your license if your broker loses their license? Well, all the agents under that broker will have their licenses suspended because you cannot work unsupervised. It's not that you did something wrong, but you can't work unsupervised. You can't even get your license unless you affiliate it under an actively licensed broker, right? So licensees can either wait until the broker gets their license back, the broker is replaced with one who is actively licensed, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker. And in that case, the Real Estate Commission will waive the fee to reissue and transfer the license elsewhere. Okay. And then I just have an example here at the bottom of the page here about this real estate broker in Bergen County who failed to ensure the timely renewal of his company's license, his brokerage's license, in the 2021-23 license cycle, and engaged in conduct demonstrating incompetency in violation with New Jersey Administrative Code 11.5-4.2A, Section 1. And that he failed as a broker of record to ensure that individual licensees licensed through his company did not engage in brokerage services during the time when his brokerage license was not active because he didn't renew it in time. And the license of said individual licensees were inactive. So he agreed to pay a fine in the amount of $5,000. Yeah, because your license will become inactive if your broker's license is inactive. So it's important for brokers to make sure that they're doing their job and making sure the company's licenses are up to par so that it does not negatively affect their own agents. All right, so here is a list of things that you could be fined for or have actions taken against your license. So disciplinary actions can be put into effect if you violate any of these things on that are the violations listed on page 23 and 24 here. So the Licensing Act specifically mentions some disciplinary offenses. Here are some of the things: making false promises or substantial misrepresentations, acting for more than one party in a transaction without the knowledge of all parties thereof. What do we call that? When you're acting for more than one party in a transaction without the knowledge of all parties thereof. What are they describing there?
Undisclosed dual agency?
Correct. Undisclosed dual agency. Pursuing a flagrant and continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. It's easy to avoid that one by sticking to the truth and don't exaggerate. Don't tell people, hey, property values are sure to go up 10% in the next year. How the heck would you know that? Unless you got some kind of magical crystal ball. You know, there's no way for you to know that. So don't make lofty promises like that to people. Failure to account for or pay over money belonging to others. Oh yeah. When people give you money, what do you got to do with it?
Put it in the escrow.
Send it directly to the broker.
You got to give it to the broker because you don't have access to the escrow. The broker does. So you got to immediately give it to the broker because the broker has how long to put it to do their record keeping and then put it in the escrow?
5
5
days.
days.
5 business days. 5 business days from when?
From the moment the transaction was made, like right in the hand.
The
know.
agent received the money. Okay. It's not 5 business days from the time that the offer is accepted. It's from 5 business days from the time the money is given to the agent, who then has to give it to the broker. The broker does the bookkeeping, and then they run to the bank and they deposit the money or checks. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith. You guys seen throughout this class so far, I've been showing you all kinds of examples of, I've been teaching you things and showing you examples of agents who got caught and then got penalized. And you see this a lot. Unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith, these terms thrown around a lot. Failing to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing. What do we call that? What do we call that copy you got to give to the contract to the client at the time of signing?
CSI.
Yes.
The duplicate.
Duplicate original.
A duplicate original. That's multiple originals of a contract with original signatures. Or failing to specify an expiration date in a listing. We didn't get to that yet, but we're going to be hearing that term a lot. So you think it's going to be on exam? Yeah, probably. You have to give that duplicate original of the listing agreement immediately when your client signs it as well. Don't forget to put an expiration date in it, fill it in later, and then come back and give it to them. You have to fill it out there in front of them so that they know. That's a little trickery, and some agents apparently, I guess, have been doing that. So the Real Estate Commission is stressing that listings have to have an expiration date in them. You can't leave it blank and fill it in later and then bring it back because you don't want to have a conversation with the owner about how long the listing is for. That's like not wanting to have a conversation with them about the commission fee that you're going to be charging them. Using a lottery, contest, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. Being convicted of a crime in which the commission does not have knowledge. How soon do you need to notify the commission of that?
30 days.
30 days. Collecting the commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity for consideration. For instance, acting as an attorney and the broker on the same transaction. A little bit of conflict there, right? Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization while not being a member of it. You know what? I'll add to that one a little bit. Saying that you're the recipient of an award, like the Circle of Excellence Award, when it hasn't been officially assigned to you yet or given to you. You know, sometimes real estate agents are notified that at the real estate awards ceremony convention that they have, that you are going to be getting the Circle of Excellence Award. So real estate agents, they start jumping on it really quick and now putting that in their ads immediately. The recipient of the Circle of Excellence Award for 2025, you know, and they put that in their marketing pieces. Can't do that. They called you to notify you that you're getting it. Have you got it? Because you did not get it yet. You can't start advertising that you are the recipient of that award because you did not get it yet. You're going to get it. You could get in trouble actually for that because you're saying a falsehood that you're the recipient of an award when you didn't get it yet. paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person except in some circumstances to a buyer. When would we pay a buyer?
Rebates.
A rebate, and we're not going to be paying them anyway. That's going to be a direct reduction from our commission due, deducted at closing, and then give it to them in the form of a credit or check at closing. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. As a salesperson or broker salesperson, accepting any commission or valuable consideration from anyone except your employing broker, and procuring a real estate license through fraud or deceit. Like this guy. On his qualifying questionnaire, he failed to, when renewing his license, that he procured a real estate license by fraud, misrepresentation or deceit, and by misrepresenting the status of his court-ordered child support obligation, where they ask if you're behind on child support of 6 months or more. He must have said no, and he was behind, and therefore he had a $1,500 fine given to him, and his license. Let me see. His license is suspended until he gets caught up on the child support. Okay, commingling the licensee's own money with that of the clients and customers, or failure to maintain or properly deposit others' money in a special trust account or escrow account. Selling property in which the licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest and the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Buying property without disclosing in the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. So you see, you have to disclose. So many agents forget to do this that they now made it part of our standard contracts that there's a checkbox there. If you're the one that's purchasing it or selling a property, you have to disclose the fact that you are a real estate licensee and what kind of license you hold. Okay. The previous one, selling property for which a licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest. Well, that would be like if you're selling your house for your mother and you don't disclose that relationship in the contract, that this, I, Victor Kaminsky, am a real estate broker with Jersey Brokers, and I'm selling the house for my client, which is my mother. As simple as that. Is that jeopardizing somebody's negotiation stance or something? Is that going to cause harm to somebody in the transaction? No, but we're required to do it. It is the law. So if you don't do that, you could end up getting sued later, on top of the real estate commission taking action if somebody files a complaint. Violating any of the rules and regulations of rental practices, and the failure to notify the commission within 30 days of a conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or the suspension or revocation of any real estate license issued by another state, or of initiation of a disciplinary proceedings. Violating any of the previous items or the administrative rules adopted by the Real Estate Commission, Title 11, Chapter 5. And if a licensee is guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles, the person may be considered a repeat offender and denied ever holding a real estate license again. You may want to highlight those two things if you have not done it yet.
Yes, done.
So once again, here's that slide. If you didn't snap a picture of it, you may want to. I don't think they're going to give you the, you're going to need to know the amounts for the fines for the timeshare violations. You're definitely going to need to study just the general fines that they issue if you violate licensing law or the administrative code. But just in case, I put that information there. For timeshare fine violations, it's minimum of $250 fine with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. Okay. But just your regular violations for licensing law or, you know, the New Jersey statutes or the administrative code, it's up to $5,000 for a first violation and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. And you could have multiple violations in one transaction, and each one would be considered a separate violation. Okay. And that concludes chapter 2. So let's do the key terms to review for chapter 2. There are 41. The way it works is I read out the answer on the right-hand side of the page. You guys shout out what you think the corresponding answer is to it on the left-hand side of the page. There's no penalties for wrong answers, but do think about it. Put a little bit of thought into it. So shout them as you got them. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right. So a broker's additional place of business.
Branch office.
A branch office would be correct. 1 is A. Least severe discipline by the real estate commission.
Probation.
Probation is correct. 6 is B. A place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Escrow account.
4 is C, the escrow account. If you were thinking trust account, you're not wrong either. But they'll have that somewhere else. You'll see. A copy of a real estate, so 4 was C. A copy of a real estate contract with original signatures.
Duplicate original.
Duplicate. Yeah.
Get originals correct. 3 is D. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
Guilty knowledge is correct. That is E, as in Edward. Mixing broker's money with that of others.
Commingling.
Commingling. 2 is F. Correct. Cancellation of a real estate license.
Revocation.
Revocation is correct. 7 is G. A temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
Suspension. 8 is H. Another name for an escrow account.
Trust account.
Trust account. Okay, so that's why you wouldn't be wrong if before that other one you selected trust account or escrow. So 9 is I. Form that the sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation with other brokers.
Waiver.
Not a broker or corporation.
The waiver of broker cooperation, 10 is J, and that is correct. And now that officially concludes chapter 2.